The stage is set for PSC Round 4, the first ever mid-season tournament to be held in Watkins, Glen. In this world, it's all about fine lines. The line between success and failure, first place and last. And with this riding on it, you've got to leave it all on the line. Welcome to the fourth race of Season 6, live on Twitch.
After a Porsche 1, 2, 3 in the real world, it's time to head to the virtual world, and it's the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports All-Stars from Watkins, Glen, here in Upper New York State. Hello everybody, Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankipati here once again. The All-Stars, they always give us some exciting action, and after the first 3 weeks racing in the Porsche 963, they now head on over to the Cup car.
Yep, and of course after my All-Star excursion, we decided it was only fair when we go to this Cup car for me to be removed from the mix. I'm too good in it. Clearly that's the reason. Paul, this is a tricky machine, right? We take away ABS, we take away traction control, and we've seen in the Supercup, even the best drivers can make mistakes. And for these drivers in the All-Stars, especially when we get to interrupt them, it's going to be a lot of fun to see those mistakes play on out.
Yeah, absolutely, and what a venue for them to be racing at as well. It's going to be a tremendous race. There's the calendar then, so we've got 2 weeks of the 992 Cup GT3 car. It is Watkins Glen, and then next time out at the Red Bull Ring before we head to the GT3 machinery, the 911 GT3R at Imola and Monza to round out the season. And, well, I've been mentioning about this track. We're running the Cup layout of this layout as we look at how the races are going to go today. 15-minute race, and then the main race with a full inverted field for 25 minutes in this racing today. But the drivers, they're going to have some fun out there. There's a lot of draft in this track around this Cup layout.
And of course, we've seen so much chaos in our previous visits here in the Super Cup. We get rid of that bus stop chicane. It's a full board chat up towards the outer loop, and that's a corner where the camber's always changing, right? And effectively, we call this colloquially the oval layout. Sometimes the cars are set up in a way to really try and get the maximum, but across the course of today, fixed setup for these drivers so they don't get the chance to try and dial things in. When we came here last year, Casey Kerwin was the winner in the sprint race, but unable to charge his way forward in that full invert main race. I think something that he might be able to do here today, although we'll have to see how qualifying goes. The field pretty close in this Cup car.
Yeah, absolutely, and Kenny 500 must love this place because he's currently provisionally on pole position at this stage, ahead of Casey Kerwin. Casey Kerwin, of course, missed out last week. He handed over his race seat to you, Arjuna. I think you had a bit more of a disadvantage than Casey in the fact that you had to be in this commentary booth all of the races last time.
I don't know, I'm also a little bit taller, heavier than Casey. You know, in sim racing, these are natural disadvantages as well. Casey threw me the keys very kindly, and I had some fun, I've got to say. Paul, you did not put me off as much as you would want. Now, half the reason I raced is because I was trying to protest against Quirk not bringing back his face car. He elected, of course, to bring the face car back just to spite me, even though I committed to racing. It returns once again, and I've got to say, it's a scary proposition when you see that. I can speak from personal experience now.
When it's bearing down on you in your mirrors, yeah, absolutely. So, top 3, Kenny 500, Casey Kerwin, Daniel Gray. Barely any time separating them as the Quirk decides to park his car in a different style there. I wouldn't recommend that if you're at home using a direct drive wheel. Paul Jazar's up. He's somebody who's possibly one of the best dressed drivers in the whole of sim racing, and once again, absolutely on point with that shirt, although he does have a microphone in the way.
I think what we're getting, Paul, is a second camera set up just for us, and then there's the main camera, which is there for the zoom as well, right? Which probably crops out the microphone a little bit, but it gives you a little bit more of a perspective, right, as to, you know, how a lot of streamers don't always having like a dedicated room to go and stream in, right? You've got to make do with the limited space, and he's got some lights behind him and stuff, and like you say, always well dressed as well. Talking away on his stream, and you know, as much as Paul, you say it was a distraction for me to be in the commentary booth. A lot of the top streamers, right, they're comfortable having a conversation and driving. If Tony Kanaan is brought into the commentary booth, though, let's not forget last week, he almost refused to talk to you, Paul, because he's like, no, you're distracting me too much.
I think it's just because it wasn't you talking to him. I think that's what it is. I think
we'll find out.
To speak to me. There we just got a quick glimpse of Storm Molina. 14 drivers are going to be taking part in this All-Stars race, and it is front row of Kenny 500 and Casey Kerwin, with Daniel Gray and Love 46 on row number 2, Matt Malone and Straddy row number 3. Fourth row of the grid for Pulpa Lopez and Quirk, with Tony Kanaan and Sampsoid row number 5, with the sixth row of Borja Zazo and Emery. Back row of the grid, Grizzle, who of course won the sprint race last time out at Le Mans, and Storm Molina. So there we go. 14 drivers to take part in this race, and we should have some absolutely cracking racing here today around this classic layout of Watkins Glen. It's always my favourite preferred layout of Watkins Glen is this. For running races in, you always keep that pack nice and together because the draft is so strong here, Arjuna.
Yeah, and I think what we also tend to see here is, you know, the fact that you have the ability just to go full chat on the run up into the outer loop. You have the chance to make some moves.
Well, the revs rise for the All-Stars. And we are green flag racing, and it's a poor start from pole position. That's going to allow Casey Cohen and Daniel Gray to come down into turn number 1. Kenny 500 slots into third place, and around the outside, Casey's not able to make that move because Daniel Gray down the inside, and he is through. So from third on the grid, he manages to get himself to the lead of this field as they go up through the S's, and then carry on flat out uphill all the way past the entry to the bus stop chicane. And Daniel Gray feeling the need to go defensive very early on here on Casey Cohen.
Yeah, and I think you already get the sense, right? First time we've had a standing start this season in the All-Stars. Some drivers have practiced, some haven't set their bike point so appropriately. Out wide as they head up towards the penultimate corner. This is where you need to defend the inside. You have to make sure you don't let a car get just into your quarter panel, because they'll get on past. There is no defending, and often into the, there's no gravel there, it's into tarmac. Two drivers in trouble.
Straddy was one of those, and the Pulpa Lopez was the other. So, wow. Around they go, but this is the view from Daniel Gray's car, and Daniel, you know, he always says on the front of his, well, he said it on the front of the 963, say nice things about me, Arjuna. Never asked me to say anything nice about him, although that was a heck of a launch from the start on the second row.
Yeah, and he's decided that there's no more message. I don't need to say nice things about him, apparently, moving forward. I think what you're seeing, though, right now is just how strong that draft is, right? And as much as Daniel's trying to cover the inside, Casey not willing to go for it just yet. We've got 13 minutes to go. Kenny 500's going to storm his way to the outside. How much can he fight the long way around?
It's difficult to do that around the outside of the carousel, but you can carry the speed out the corner, use that runoff to your advantage, and then get back onto track. But no, Kenny 500 has to slot in for the time being. Those that were involved further back, they're trying to get themselves tagged back onto the back of this queue. But what's great to see, Love 46 right up here on pace, fighting for podiums.
Yeah, and I think this is the type of track as well, right, where take not just the techniques required to be fast, take that aside, the racecraft has to come to the fore, and I think what we're seeing out of Love 46 right now is patience, right, stalking and setting things up. Can't run too wide out of turn 1 because you will actually get a slowdown, even though the curve runs all the way basically until you rise up through almost 100 feet of elevation change. I get the sense, Paul, at the front, 3, 4 wide in the final couple of laps. Yes, please give it to me.
Yeah, I think everybody's showing a little bit of patience, and that's not the 46, that's Tony Kanaan that we're looking at then, and TK in 6th place right now. It's getting a little bit interesting. Quirk's making a move on the 46 through the carousel, and out they go. And it's all about patience. It's all about, you don't want to be at the very front too early on in a race like this, do you, Junior? You want to be in that sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th place right now at this stage.
Well, the thing is, we don't know exactly how strong the slingshot is going to be, right? Because we saw Kenny 500 from 3rd, unable to pass Casey Kerwin for 2nd on the run to the outer loop. That tells you draft not strong enough for him to really get aggressively alongside and pinch Casey through the long right-hander. What's it going to mean when Casey finally decides to go for the lead? He needs to make sure he times that run well, which part of what he's doing right now, probably, Paul, is figuring out of turn 1 exactly when he needs to time the exit to be able to time the move right up at the top of the hill.
And we've got a couple of friends joining us in the commentary booth as well. And because TK didn't want to speak to me last time out, Junior, you take it away.
TK and Quirk join us. TK, I mean, I can speak now from experience. It's difficult to race and talk, commentate at the same time. Is it a little bit easier when it's racing here at Watkins Glen with this limited layout?
No, not at all, actually. I still struggle with that, as you can see.
Keep talking to him.
I mean, Quirk, it's a GT3 Cup car. You tell us how difficult it is to talk and drive, because you're the master of it, right?
Oh, yeah, this is a piece of cake. I could drive with one hand.
That's a challenge, by the way, Quirk. At one point this season, we're going to need to see an entire race from you with just one hand. Come on, yes.
No. I've made a grave mistake.
You've laid the bet, now you've got to make sure you lay in it. TK, we've moved from the 963 over to this Cup car. You've been racing a little bit in it as well, haven't you, in the real world?
I mean, it's one of the most fun cars, and then it's a love and hate relationship here. And I actually going to do 3 992 endurance races this year in the real car in Brazil. So it's a good practice, but I have to say, man, this car is tough. You know, it doesn't take an inch for you to make a mistake, and invites you to break deep, and you think it's gonna make it, and then you won't make it. So it takes a lot of consistency and concentration, that's for sure. It's not an easy car to drive. In my opinion, probably one of the most difficult cars to drive on iRacing.
Oh, there's trouble in front. Was that Quirk's fault? Was that your fault, Quirk?
100%. 100%.
She lost it on her own. She lost it on her own. I'm pretty sure.
See, he was bragging about it.
I think she lost it. I don't think I touched it. I'm pretty sure.
Well, you didn't touch me because I was behind you, but like you stop in the middle of the road. What do you want me to do? Like this, like eject? You think this is like what? Back to the Future or something that I can just fly?
Well, as the debrief continues, we'll let these guys sort themselves out in that one. Thank you guys for joining us here. But I mean, that's our equivalent of the Daytona, of the Talladega big one, wasn't it?
Oh, I mean, yeah, and it just goes to show, right, how small the mistakes sometimes have to be. I couldn't actually tell if that was Quirk's fault, just to be completely fair. I just thought I'd slip a little bit of chaos into the commentary booth, and boy, did it deliver. But at the front now, Paul, 3 cars with 8 minutes to try and figure out how they want to fight to the end.
Well, this changes the dynamic of the race for these 3, of course, because now they've got a breakaway at the front. They've got about 3 seconds ahead of Samside, who suddenly finds himself in 4th place after being 10th at the start of this race. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how they get on. Of course, I feel sorry for Love 46 in all of that. Around Chiguzha in the great position in 4th place, was looking good for this one. But we're into the second half of this sprint race now. If you're Casey Kerwin and Kenny 500, you're now looking for those opportunities, aren't you, from Daniel Gray?
Yeah, and it's also trying to see, right, what lines he's taking. Casey's a little bit wider than Daniel as they sweep out of the long right-hander. I don't think that's an advantage in many ways, right? Yes, it might give you a little bit more speed, but it's a longer distance as well. And so it'll be interesting coming into those final laps, which line does prevail. One thing I will say, right, Daniel got a great start, Paul. He's not put a foot wrong since then.
Absolutely not. One thing I want to touch with Casey, of course, he won last year's sprint race. He's got experience here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series as well. So he's got a bit of experience in a fast car that hasn't got the most aerodynamic grip. Okay, those NASCARs do produce some aerodynamic grip, but he's got experience around this track and will know a bit more than others.
I'm wondering if he's done no practice for today, right? If he's given himself a little bit of a challenge. I mean, there's got to be some self-inflicted BOP at play at some point, as finally he will start to jink out wide, and this is when we'll start to understand, Paul, some of the games that are going to come into play on the final lap. Look, Casey doesn't have a chance to go for the lead there. Tries to cut back underneath, but that's something he's learned and downloaded into his database going into the final stages.
Right, let's try and pick apart as to whether Quirk did in fact cause that wreck. Difficult to see there, doesn't think so, and unfortunately everybody else just comes through when there's cars just across the road in front of them.
Now, I'm not sure who that last car was that came in, but I don't want to say Arca brakes, but because I think they got through that safely. Was that the Pulpo Lopez? It may very well have been, so congratulations. I'm sure his heart rate spiked about 30 beats per minute, but I guess you learn a couple of things on iRacing. Just follow the smoke, and I guess you'll survive.
Yeah, Emery, Grizzle, Love 46, TK, and Bolgezazo all getting significant damage to the point that they had to pit. Bolger is still in the pit lane, so I think he's done there. What that does mean, though, and I do want to point it out because she had been saying in her streams, is Storm Molina is in a possibly best position she's ever been in ninth. She's been a bit nervous for this one.
I don't blame her as well, right? Because this is the type of race where it can just be so tight. And yeah, that's definitely, unfortunately, not on Quirk. Just a slight loss to the rear end from Love 46. And as much as Quirk tried to check up, just not in time. And then from there, the chaos unfolded.
And when you're going through that last corner as well, there's a wall right to the side of you there with that safer barrier. There's nowhere for you to go, and you can't exactly just stamp on the brakes because you'll lock up the brakes in this car and slide yourself into the wall.
And some Porsche Carrera Cups around the world, the ABS and traction control system that this car does come with are enabled. Some endurance racing series use it as well, but in the top level Porsche Carrera Cup, the Porsche Supercups, and here in the Porsche eSports Supercup as well, all disabled. It's all down to the driver's feet to control the balance of the car. And yeah, in a situation like that, you find yourself with limited things to do. So Bolgezazo at the back of the field, no longer Spanish Minister of Defense. Instead, Kenny 500 given the title of Spanish Minister of Offense. He's going to have to find a way forward with 4 minutes left to go, which I think at the line, with our lap times being just under around 70 seconds or so, means 4 laps to go to figure this all out.
As we go through the penultimate corner once again, Casey Kerwin taking different lines. Here's the Pulpo Lopez then, and his view, and you just see smoke, cars everywhere. Oh my goodness, how close to Love 46 and to Emery as well.
And kudos there. That wasn't an Arca brake. He was very calculated with how much he slowed down, how much momentum he was actually carrying, because he was aware of what was still behind him and rolling. I mean, that was about as cool, calm, as collected you could be, rolling through smoke like that. And, well, it's probably something that, like I said, rose his heart rate and change of underpants required.
I think there's going to be an entire cleaning bill for most of the grid heading towards Porsche's way. 3 minutes to go with this race, and again Kerwin trying to go the long way around. And I think, do you know what, Daniel Gray, you said it. Great driving so far from him, hasn't put a foot wrong. He's keeping to his racing line, but Kerwin to the outside around a penultimate corner. He can hold it up there, bit of a tail wag to the inside of the last corner. And wow, this is incredible stuff, Arjuna, and we've been joined by Casey Kerwin as well.
Casey, yesterday I was commentating on you racing in some IMSA racing. Today it's Porsche Cups. I'm glad that we have the BOP in place to talk to you, to distract you. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. We've had some fun bump drafting with Daniel. I feel like it's now time to try and get in front if I can, but it's a bit difficult. But yeah, it's been nice do a little bit of bump drafting. Hey, and yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. It's pretty wild. The pack dwindled out a little bit. Oh, we're 3 wide. This not end well.
You tried running off the track to try and make your pass, and we are indeed 3 wide. Daniel Gray's decided he doesn't really want to try and make too much happen. Daniel, discretion the better part of valor?
Well, right now I'm just absolutely terrified, but this is the most exciting thing to ever happen to me at 5 in the morning, so it's pretty fun out here.
I mean, it looks like a lot of fun, but Casey now leads. You've got to stop that from happening, Daniel. Come on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the haircut just gives him way too much speed here. We need to do something about that. Need to nerf the guy.
Well, Casey, as we come to 2 to go, we'll keep distracting by asking you some questions. Let Daniel try and close you down. Back in the Porsche Cup car, you missed our experience at Le Mans, I think mainly because you heard I was going to be racing and you wanted to be off the track for that. How's it feeling to be back in this car?
Yeah, this is a fun car. It's super tricky with no ABS and the way the braking is and no traction control. I feel like it suits me a bit decent with the NASCAR side of things, you know, with how lack of grip it has. But it's such a tricky car, though. I feel like most cars I can kind of jump in and feel somewhat comfortable after a few laps, and I never feel comfortable in this thing. So it's yeah, a really tricky car to drive, but really fun if you get it right. And obviously it puts on a good show like we're having now.
And in terms of this particular layout of Watkins, Glen, you talked about your experience. Where are the passing opportunities? Where can you really make things happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the main one's into the carousel, but it's really hard to stick it around the outside there. So you can kind of set up in the second to last corner into the final corner like I tried to, but it's also a little tricky to complete it there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting here.
I think my job's done. Paul, I managed to close the gap up just that little bit more as we come onto the final lap of the race.
Yeah, we're on to the last lap then, and it's all down to this. It's all about the slipstream and the draft for these drivers as they head up through the S's, and Casey Kerwin is a little bit of a sitting duck right now. Here comes Kenny 500, and Daniel Gray is going to be getting a great draft here as they go side by side in towards the carousel. Casey's got to hug that inside line the best he can. Kenny 500 looking the long way. What can Daniel Gray do in all of this? He's tucked in right behind. Casey is still a nose ahead, and in fact he's half a car ahead, but look at the run that Kenny 500 gets out of the carousel in towards the penultimate corner, but he's going to be on the outside for the final corner. You can get on the power. Here comes Gray looking to the inside. Kenny 500 outside. Gray's going to slide on, and here comes Casey Kerwin to the line. He won the sprint race last year. He wins it again.
Didn't do a good enough job, Paul, apparently. He still, despite our distraction in the closing stage, is able to come out on top. But the brawl at the end shows you've got to be on your toes. You've got to make the right decisions at the right time.
You certainly do that. So, Kerwin from Kenny 500 from Daniel Gray's your top 3. Quirk, after all that, does finish 4th in the end with Sampsoid 5th. The Pulpa Lopez, 6th place in the end. We'll give you your provisional race results once we've got everything all finished here. But here's what happened all at the towards the back. Here's Matt Malone, and he is racing with Straddy in all of this. Remember, Straddy was involved in that incident on lap number 1, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was, and you can see Malone's still got some damage on the front of his car as I think we're now going to grab a look at the race results.
Yeah, so Casey Kerwin from Kenny 500, Daniel Gray in 3rd ahead of Quirk, Sampsoid, the Papa Lopez, Matt Malone, Straddy, Storm Molina in 9th, and Grizzle 10th place. Lord 46, Tony Kanaan, Emery, and Borja Zarso does not finish the race.
Well, let's have a chat with Casey Kerwin, our race winner then, who joins us now. Casey, tried my best to distract you. It didn't quite work. Talk to us about that final lap, though. Did seem quite tense.
Yeah, it was crazy there, especially, into the final corner. Kenny drove it in so deep on the outside. I thought, if he made it somehow stick, he had it won. I don't know how he even got it in close enough as he did with how deep he drove it in. But, obviously, really fun race. It'll be fun here on the reverse grid with... obviously it's just a huge pack. It's kind of like an oval, right? Kind of like up my alley, I guess, if you will. So, it's going to be a really fun race and see how it all plays out.
You repeat the sprint race win from last year, but you didn't win in the main race. How are you feeling about going from back to front this time?
We'll see. It's obviously going to be really dependent on the start. And obviously, if there's kind of any mix-up in the middle of the pack, it can kind of break the packs apart. And then it's really hard to catch up without draft. So, and everyone... realistically is all within a 10th or two, so like it doesn't really matter who's leading. You're all kind of going the same speed. So we'll see. Hopefully it all stays nice and packed up for the show and for my sake, and see how it ends up.
Well, Casey, a winner once more. We'll see if we're talking to you again at the end of the main race. Just a little bit more work to do. 25 minutes though, Paul, lie ahead.
They certainly do indeed, and these drivers, they always produce us some fun here in the All-Stars. So we've had the 15-minute sprint race. We now invert the results of that race to form the grid for the main race. So 25 minutes of action coming up for you in just about 2.5 minutes time here. The big talking point in that first race, of course, was the big incident at the final corner. We saw how easy it is to lose the back end of the car, and when they're all tightly packed together like that, there's no room for people to go.
And imagine what it's going to be like when we get 30 cars in the Supercup. It's a fixed setup, a competition in that mid-season tournament that's coming up in just about 30 minutes time. And so, if Love 46 was struggling with the rear end, could some of the drivers find similar sort of issues? Let's not forget, Paul, as well, one thing we often talk about at Watkins, Glen, temperatures can be quite sweltering, which leads to tires being up in agony. Track temperatures around 40 C right now, as we take a look at more details about that mid-season tournament.
Yeah, so coming up after this All-Stars main race, we have got a mid-season tournament for the Porsche Heuer eSports Supercup. Each winner of each heat race gets 25 points, so that could have a big swing for things for the drivers here in the championships. You're not going to want to miss that. Only 15 drivers make it to that feature race, so it's going to be important to be in the front two of those heat races. You do get that last chance qualifier in the Consolation race, and some big prize money as well on offer for the feature race top three as well. So plenty for those drivers to work to, but we are getting set for the start of this second race. Bolgezazo and Emery are on the front row, and in fact we are going to go green flag racing here in the main race, and it is down towards turn number one. Bolgezazo gets a great start. Tony Kanaan into second place ahead of Emery, but with 25 minutes to go in this one, it's a longer race. Matt Malone way out on the runoff there. He gets back on track as we go up the S's for the first time. If you're the front three, you try and break away as, Daniel Gray is in the wall at the S's. Something's happened to him here on this opening lap. It seems to be there's been a bit of carnage further down, Arjuna.
And Love 46 had an issue out through turn one, and now we're going to see Grizzle run very wide as their damage on the steering is going to just about be able to bring it back onto the track itself. But now with Matt Malone really closing from behind. You talk about trying to build up an advantage and break away. What a dramatic opening lap. Casey Kerwin's already up into the top 10 as we work our way back to the line.
Yeah, Bolgezazo's trying to make a breakaway at the front right now, and Tony Kanaan second place. If ever you don't want somebody charging you down, it is Tony Kanaan, a magnificent racer. He's really taken to the sim racing side of things as well. But Emery in third place, of course, a former champion here in the All-Stars. So Emery has that pedigree. Doesn't help that she's racing at 5 a.m. in the morning, but still, it's a great opportunity for her to get some good points here in this main race.
Yeah, and talking of that championship, let's not forget, Casey missing that last round really has opened things up a little bit. Here's a look at the replay. Already, Love 46 off and off into the tarmac, on the outside of turn 1. Then as they come up the hill, Daniel Gray on the inside of Samsoy, just a little bit of contact, cold tires as well. Rear wing initially gets detached, but I think that was it initially for Daniel Gray, who is still running, but maybe with a bit of damage.
Yeah, down there in last place for Daniel Gray, Love 46 in 13th. So there at the back of the field, it's still Porsche Zazo keeping that same sort of gap at the front here, because it's been sticking around that 0.7 of a second margin, although as they go across the line, Tony Kanaan does go about 2.5 tenths faster than Porsche on this lap, and I think it'll help him that he's got Emery pushing him along, and I think she's doing a nice bit of bump drafting to try and push them forward towards the race leader.
They're just working together to try and make something happen. This is a little bit longer, of course, as well. So if anyone was struggling with the 15-minute race distance and with tires at the end, to add 10 more minutes on, you're going to struggle even more. Track temperatures have got even hotter for the second race. I was just talking about that in that warm-up session, from about 37 to upwards of 43. Sounds like a small difference, but it's a big impact on the operating window these drivers deal with. Just watch, though, as some drivers run a little bit wide. We saw Casey Kerwin made a move around the outside, but Paul, those are few and far between. You want to make sure you've got the momentum off of that penultimate, third to final corner into the penultimate corner.
Samsoid went into the runoff of the penultimate corner and the back end stepped out on him. That's all possibly a reason not to use the runoff there at that particular corner. Really stepped out on him. Matt Malone doing a stern defence of 6th place, but he wants to be trying to hang on to the coattails of the Pulpo Lopez to drag him and Quirk up towards that front leading pack. And the front leading pack now is 5 cars long. It's got the opportunity and the potential of becoming 7 cars long, and Emery deciding now's the time to pull out of that draft, and here comes TK as well, looking to the outside, but no, and Emery actually dropping back there.
I think she saw the Pulpo Lopez coming up the inside and didn't really want to try and defend, although running wide again out of the long carousel section, Matt Malone, and now Quirk trying to get on through. A lot of what we're seeing is just small mistakes here and there through some of these corners being punished. I mean, look from up above. Strati almost got ran over from the Pulpo Lopez 3rd and 4th positions, and now the conga line stretches all the way back to 11th spot. And Casey Kerwin in 5 minutes has only gotten up to 8th position, Paul. So we need to make sure we make his life as difficult as possible from this point forward.
Yes, we certainly do need to make life very, very uncomfortable for him as we move forward. Now, it's not going to be easy for him to be able to move through that field, I must say, because when all the cars are close together, you're getting that slipstream effect. You're able to work together. Here comes the Pulpo Lopez to the outside of Stradi and makes it through. Matt Malone's looking to the inside of Emery as well. Little side-to-side contact between the two of those at the back of the queue. Emery's not having much fun out there, actually, by the looks of things.
Tell you what, there's a lot of chopping and changing, Paul, and I'm getting slightly uncomfortable, and I think maybe that's why Emery's not defending too hard. Just feels like there's a lot going on.
Certainly does, as they come through that final corner once again, and we're going to be starting lap 6 of this main race. 25 minutes is the main race, and look at how pretty much the whole field, at least the top 11 at least, have all come together in one queue of cars. It's now a case of, well, how do you move forward? We heard Casey saying where the opportunities are to make that move, the main one being into the carousel, but as we saw in that first race, if you're able to hold that inside line, it's very difficult to go the long way around, as TK now under pressure from the Pulpo Lopez.
And this is what I was saying, the chopping and changing, the Pulpo Lopez trying to make things happen, and quite early in this race as well. TK slightly off of the apex, and you can see on board with Matt Malone just how close they got as we ran off of the corner. Now, though, it gives the Pulpo Lopez the inside, what he was looking to get to. Malone's going to have a send as well, and the mustachioed man forward to 4th position. Strati not trying to fight.
Well, why don't we give you a little bit of the sights and sounds with Full Throttle from Buzz. Past Stradi up into 6th place. There we had the Buzz Full Throttle, and well, big moment for TK there on the exit of turn 1. He's headed off, almost off the track completely. Does well to hold on to that, but TK, he's up there with them. We know he's got the pace, maybe not the out and out top pace of a Casey Kerwin, but he's right up there with these drivers in this one. To the lead, Borja Zaza, Pulpo Lopez together.
And I think for a moment the Pulpo Lopez was trying to side draft, but Paul, he's going to find himself needing some help, I think, if he wants to hold that lead, because once he gets past, what happens there? Then he's feeding the draft to everyone behind, side by side through the penultimate corner. Borja Zazo trying to hold on.
Borja's doing a good job of this so far, and well, here comes Matt Malone in all of this. He's seeing an opportunity to make some moves through all of this. Across the line they go, just under 16 minutes remaining in this one, so plenty of time remain for us. We've only had 9 minutes of this this main race. It's been great stuff so far, and it's a pleasure to have you all along here to join us for this one. Paul Smith, Arjuna Kankapati on the call, and it's Borja Zazo leading this one from the Pulpo Lopez, but the Pulpo Lopez is going to get a great draft now. Here comes Matt Malone as well. Are we going to see 3 wide in towards the carousel? The answer is no.
I don't think you should fight at the front just yet if you are Pulpo Lopez. You want to try and stay in second to have a slingshot in those closing stages, but at the same time you need to manage your track position, and with Casey Kerwin looming behind, how do you fight this? I think the reality is, Paul, Casey said it best in the chat we had with him at the end of the sprint race. These drivers are all within a 10th or 2. There's not realistically a chance to break away unless there's a really big mistake. And so you see right now the Pulpo Lopez trying to sneak on through on the inside as they come back towards the line. It's going to take something like that for someone to try and run away.
What's the collective noun for a group of Porsches? Because that's what we're seeing right now. It's just Porsche after Porsche all together on track. You can almost throw a blanket over all of them. They're that close together. This is great stuff. 2 seconds covering the top 11 here. Porsche Zaza, a little bit of a rub with Matt Malone. That checks them up. And well, here comes Tony Kanaan. Here comes Quack and Matt Malone into Tony Kanaan. And it's another big one.
Oh, and that one, again, just no time to respond once those cars got hooked together. Chaos on that long uphill back straightaway because it continues to climb. It's going to be TK and Malone that seemingly get the worst of it. Malone back on the flatbed to pit lane, but as we run our way, still with 14 minutes to go, effectively a full sprint race distance, is it down to the final 6 competitors at the front of the field.
I tell you what, if you're Tony Kanaan after race 1 getting caught up in that incident with Love 46, he must be thinking now, oh my goodness, what do I have to do? If I had a black cat cross my path or something, Just that car seems to have magnets into it right now for Tony, and he, along with Emery and Matt Malone, are all in the pit lane, and they are done for this race in terms of challenging for a win. But the Pulpo Lopez has a little bit of a gap over Borja Zaza. Casey Kerwin, look at that, through all of that, is now into third.
And this is where you're going to see, I think, Borja Zaza go a little bit defensive. He recognizes that Pulpo Lopez not going anywhere. Let's try and hold on. This is the look from up above, and you're going to keep an eye for Malone in that blue and red machine, who's going to tuck in behind Borja Zaza and then try to cut up high. Didn't recognize TK was there. It's a bit of contact as well for the teal machine. That just span around helplessly, unfortunately, as well. So Emery's gone a lap down and is down on pit lane as well. But one of those things where the iRacing spotter can tell you you're too wide, it can't tell you exactly where that car is.
Well, so Super Cup qualifying is underway. You can see that on the bottom screen. So those drivers are getting themselves ready for their qualifying, and well, I think they're just in the practice session at the moment before qualifying. So they're just getting themselves prepared, ready for qualifying. We've got 12 minutes of the All-Star race left to go, and it's still the Pulpo Lopez from Borja Zaza and Casey Kerwin with Quirk Straddy and Kenny 500. Kenny 500 could sneak a good result once again, but yeah, you won't miss a thing. The Super Cup will be coming up after this with this mid-season tournament. It's certainly going to give us some tremendous action as this mid-season tournament. There goes Casey to second place behind the Pulpo Lopez.
And this is where I mentioned as well when it comes to time management. I said again earlier, fixed setup that these all-stars are racing with, the same that the Super Cup drivers are practicing with, qualifying with, and racing with as well. So a lot of what we're seeing here in terms of balance, you may think, oh, you know, the Super Cup drivers may be a lot faster, a lot better. Maybe, but Casey said it best, right? These drivers all within a tenth of their own. Casey's one of the quickest drivers within the roadside of iRacing. Keep in mind some of these tendencies that we're talking about, that we're seeing, and some of these drivers, when we get to chat with them, are talking to us about too. And, you know, this is the type of race, Paul, where, again, technique's important, but racecraft, it's even more.
Yeah, racecraft, it's also about incident avoidance. I mean, we've seen that already today with those two big ones that we've had, as Casey's been looking left and right and trying to get in the mirrors of the Pulpo Lopez. But again, look at that queue of cars behind now. It's starting to form. It was separated out a bit by that incident. Now they've been all drawn together once again here as we're on board with Straddy from 5th place, and he's going to be looking forward and rubbing his hands with glee and thinking, I've got a great chance of a good result.
It looks like he's having fun talking with his stream chat as well. Maybe he's aware that he's on the broadcast, you never know. I've done some broadcasts where drivers have been told that, you know, camera's on you. They've given us a quick little wave just to show that they're paying attention. I always enjoy, Paul, just seeing how much fun some of these all-stars are having, because while, yes, there is a championship, we're very serious about this, at the same time, you know, there is, you know, that element of, we want to make sure our streamers are having fun, doing the things that they need to, and, you know, enjoying the time that they spend with the audience. Our audience going to enjoy this, though. Casey Kerwin looking the long way around.
Oh, can he make it work, though? Offline, the Pulpo Lopez back in front, holding an inside line, and that means that he's able to hold on to the lead for the moment as they head into that penultimate corner, and through they go, through the left and then into the right of the final turn. We've got just over 9 minutes remaining in this race, and unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, joining us in the commentary booth, Matt Malone. I mean, are you, along with Tony Kanaan, one of the most unlucky people in this series?
Well, Tony was super unlucky there. That's all on me, 100% on me. I have not made such a brain-dead mistake in a long time on iRacing. That was all on me. I had tunnel vision. I got caught up in the moment. So, Tony, I'm sorry. Please don't get too mad. That was on me. That was bad. I pulled right. I just hit him.
Well, as your punishment, you're going to be stuck in the commentary booth with us for the rest of this race, commentating on this race. But that's one punishment. Deal with me and Arjuna for another 8 minutes, Arjuna. This is going to be fun as we see this action on track.
Poor Matt's now got to be technical. Matt, I mean, tell us, balance of the car, tires, what's going on?
Well, yeah, the tires, this is a little bit longer of a race here, and you got to be careful on tires. See, that was my thing. I sped up to the front. I used up all my tires, and that was going to bite me in the end if I made it to the end. But yeah, these guys, you got to stay disciplined. You got to stay cool, calm, collected. You got Quirk over here now. He was helping me get pushed up with me. You could tell.
Well, as we just continue to watch these guys right now, you talk about tires, but Matt, talk about mindset as well. You talk about tunnel vision. How easy is it for someone who's done as much racing as you and some of the drivers, you know, in this race? How easy is it to make a mistake like that?
Well, it's pretty easy, especially when all the cars are really close. And when I talk about tunnel vision, I mean, you're only looking at a small radius around your car. You're not thinking big picture. You know, you're thinking about the cars around you, but you're not thinking about the cars coming up. If you're battling, there's cars coming up on you. So you got to think bigger picture. Take the airplane view of it. You got to think through the race. He's 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of you, not just one corner in front of you.
Well, what we are going to do is we're going to now test your abilities, Matt, to interview one of our drivers mid-race. Take it away, Matt, with Quirk.
All right, joining us live in the commentary booth while driving and racing is a well-known figure in the sim racing community. His name, first name Quirk, last name Itized. It's Quirk Itized. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great, Matt. What happened to you?
Well, there was this guy had a bunch of faces all over his car, and he decided to push me right into the legend Tony Kanaan. Oh, now we got a major accident. Quirk able to avoid it while still in the commentary booth.
Oh, that's probably my fault too, I guess.
Now, what's your strategy about pushing slower drivers to the front? I see you used that tactic earlier in the race.
Well, you know, it's been working out pretty well for me so far. They just tend to get out of the way, just like earlier there.
Yeah, I see that you push cars into corners, and then they're going much quicker than they're used to going, and then they don't have the braking power, the stopping power, if you will, to be able to slow the car down. They go wide, and you sneak right in. I've noticed that strategy has been working out for you.
No, it's working really well, Matt. And I gotta say, thanks for being a good test subject on that matter.
Okay.
You really helped proves the theory there.
Yeah, I see your sample size is growing with all the data here. Now, who is this that you're pushing here? We got Boris Zazo. Now, what's your strategy here? You push them right into Casey, they both wreck, and you go on to victory, huh?
You got it. You
think all the faces on your car are also distraction? That's a tactic as well?
Yes. You know, it is my face, but with hair. I like to imagine that's how I would look with hair.
I'm just going to interrupt here because just to let everyone know at home that qualifying is underway for the Porsche Heuer eSports Supercup. We see Sebastian Job on track. It is a mid-season tournament, don't forget, so we've got plenty of action coming up for you in just about 19 minutes time, you see on the countdown clock. But I'm interested to hear what's happening with our conversation with Matt and Quirk.
Yeah, I was going to ask Quirk, so now that we lost Tony Kanaan as a dear friend of ours, what are we going to be doing on the weekends now? We're going to have to hang out more. I guess we're done hanging out with Tony. He's banned us.
You know, I was going to go down there and do this race with them down in Indy. I'm glad I didn't, because I think I'd probably end up in the hospital.
Yeah, there'd be a domestic dispute if you...
I don't think he's too happy right now. He was in just bad situation, you know, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, bad situation, wrong time, wrong place, the wrong time. Yeah, when Malone just veers the steering wheel right into him, I guess that is pretty unlucky. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was flying at a rate of speed that I haven't gotten this Cup car up in a long time. So, how do you like the Cup car, Quirk?
Oh,
it's
man,
a little bit different than GTP.
I love it. It's a challenge. Yeah. It's a challenge. It's one of my favorite GT cars to drive just because no TC, no ABS. It's very raw. You got to be careful with the throttle, careful with the brake.
But it's satisfying.
Yes,
Very satisfying
satisfying
when
when you get it right,
Yep.
and extremely frustrating when you get it wrong.
Yep. Now we got a 2-wide situation in front of you here, Quirk. Now what are you just looking for a fast lane, seeing the
Yeah,
opportunity arises? Yeah.
I think maybe I
Yeah.
can stay on the inside here.
Well, Quirk can actually work with Casey because he's right here in the commentary booth with us as well. So
Pick me, Quirk, pick me.
Oh, no. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
oh, Quirk with a big moment there as well. But I mean, Matt, we've got to talk to the race leader. We've got to distract him. He can't be winning 2 races.
Yeah, Casey, come on.
Oh no!
Casey, this is the time to slow down and make sure everyone's okay.
Oh my God! I gave
No,
him
big
room.
wreck.
I gave him room.
Oh no.
Oh,
Major issues.
Everyone's dropping like flies.
that's 3 people that Quirk has managed
Man, I
to
gave him
wreck.
so much room. I was right next to the wall.
Now, Casey, I see that you don't care at all about your fellow iRacers. They could be back there in serious condition. You're not even going to slow down, call someone, make sure they're okay, maybe pull them out of the car, make sure there's no fire. What's the deal here?
I'm just a coward. I'm just too scared of the situation. You know, I leave that to the professionals. You know.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we got? A couple more minutes to go. You're on your way to another victory. Unbelievable. Let me ask you this, Casey. Does winning ever become boring for you?
No, it does not. Especially in these races, they're very chaotic, and we have a great time. It was a pleasure. I mean, an absolute pleasure watching the master Matt Malone at work throughout the pack from behind this race.
That was something, wasn't
he
it?
put on an absolute show, and then
that was something.
all of a sudden he was like head on the wall in front of me. It was pretty unfortunate, but it was a pleasure. I enjoyed my time.
Now, on a serious note, we are driving the Porsche Cup car. It's a very unique car amongst all the cars in iRacing. What's your favorite aspects of the Porsche Cup car? Let's hear it from a pro.
I'd say probably the no traction control, because I think it kind of fits up the NASCAR alley a bit, you know, where you got to have some nice throttle control. You know what I mean? I feel like that plays into my liking. No ABS too. I kind of struggle with ABS with the GT3 cars and stuff.
And tire management's more important with this car than most.
Yeah. So I think that kind of naturally suits me a bit as well. So yeah, it's a fun car. It's very tricky though. I said it earlier, but like I feel like I can jump into most cars and feel like somewhat comfortable. Like maybe not like fully there, but comfortable. And I don't think I ever feel comfortable in this car. But I think that's why it's fun. So.
Now Barney just gave you the white flag. You gonna do any hot dogging out there? You gonna do a little showboating out there, maybe just for fun? Maybe a little swiggle wiggle.
The little drift ski, you know? Yeah. No,
Yeah. This is coming up, you know. This is your time. You're on camera, ready to show the world.
Yeah, to show the world a huge drift. Yeah. Let me just get it in front of everyone.
Do you know what? We've got a battle for second place as well. Seeing as Casey's so far in front, it's Straddy and Kenny 500 for this one. They're absolutely together. Me and Arjuna are almost out of a job with the way that Matt Malone has been able to do this. Casey Cohen's going to be on for a double. He'll be delighted with that. The biggest smile in all of sim racing. But second place, Kenny 500 around the outside of Straddy. They're going to be absolutely neck and neck. There's Casey celebrating. But who's going to be second at the line? My goodness, that's surplus.
And he got it.
31,000. It's Kenny 500. Oh, break out the timing beams. Break out the split screens.
That's absolutely incredible stuff. My goodness. I mean, Arjuna, where do we start with this?
I mean, first, A, we're either out of a job, or B, Matt's just help us take a 10-minute break at work. I mean, I'm loving it as we take a look at the race results.
Yeah, we are heading in towards the Buzz post-race show, but first, here's your unofficial race results. Casey Cohen ahead of Kenny 500 and Straddy, Grizzle, Sampside and Quirk ahead of Paulo Lopez, Love 46, Daniel Gray and Storm Molina with 2 top 10 finishers here today. The rest of your drivers then from 11th, when the page changes. We'll get there eventually. There we go. Borja then 2 laps down, and then Matt Malone, Tony Kanaan and Emery all out of this race. And Arjuna, take it away with the post-race interviews.
Now let's start with not your race winner, because we talked with Casey at the end of the sprint race. So instead, let's talk to Matt a little bit more. Matt, how do you enjoy being a commentator? Are you coming for our jobs?
Oh, no, you guys are the pros. I'm just jumping on being a clown, but it is fun when you know the guys, and it's a little bit easier to, when you know the names and you know the drivers, so it makes it a lot of fun, and they're all friends, so. But no, it's always fun, yeah, just to hang out. It's iRacing. It's our favorite hobby, right?
I'm just saying, I want to see Matt Malone in a commentary booth. Casey, from your perspective, double win seems like a pretty fun way to return to the All-Stars, even if you gave up some points in missing Le Mans.
Yeah, it was a great time. Obviously, the racing was very hectic. It was really fun in the feature. All the kind of chess games of trying to push, but then it was a risk if you try to go for a pass, you'd lose some ground. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Porsche Cup car is fun. Hey, I missed Le Mans. Well, not really. I'm not a huge fan of Le Mans, but it was always fun, and look forward to wherever we go next. It'll be a good show.
It leads me into my next question. We're going to the Red Bull Ring, and we only get 2 races in this Cup car. So, Casey, I'll come back to you first. What should we expect when we head up to the Austrian mountains?
Probably. I feel like it's still decently drafty there. It's got good amount of straightaways, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really do that track much, so I don't really know trends there. But yeah, obviously it's got some decent straightaways, so I think it'd still be pretty packed up and pretty chaotic, especially I guess it's technically turn 3, I think they call it there, but I say turn 2, the hairpin. There'll probably be some very much carnage on the starts there, so.
It's only called turn 3 because in a motorcycle, the left-hander before it is very, very scary. Matt, before we let you go from the commentary booth, I've got to ask you, GT3 or GT3 Cup car? You asked a lot about to the people you tortured with your questions about the balance. One thing that I'll ask you about, though, they're all standing starts. How do you feel coming over to here compared with the rolling starts we had in the first 3 rounds of the season?
Oh, boy, standing starts are really hit or miss. Obviously, race 1 here, I had a little issue, but overall, I like standing starts. Yes, it makes it more exciting. You just get into the race immediately, and yeah, I'm all for standing starts, even if I'm bad at them.
Oh, yeah, we did hear.
And for the record, Tony Kanaan is my hero, and I still love him, even though I may have murdered him in the race.
We're
still good.
We hope that he still loves you. What I was also going to say is we heard about your poor start. I just had to bring it up. So yeah. I'm glad that we got there. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Always great to have you join us here in the All-Stars. And we'll see you next time as we head over to the Red Bull Ring.
Perfect.
Sorry.
And now we switch from Casey and Matt to Love 46 and Storm Molinas. Storm, will start with you. Paul was saying that you were very, very nervous before we got underway. How are you feeling now after both of those races?
Much less nervous.
Much less nervous. Good to hear. Did you feel a little more comfortable in this car compared to the Porsche 963, that prototype rocket that you had before?
Yes, I love this car. I think it might be my favorite car.
I'm glad to hear that. Next time out, we get one more race with this. I think Love 46 has just put the headphones on, so we'll ask her a question in a sec. But how much are you looking forward to heading over to the Red Bull Ring, Storm?
I'm so excited, so we'll try less than this. I'm definitely not as good at it, but as long as it's in the P Cup, I think I'll have fun.
Good. Well, looking forward to seeing you there. Love 46, we heard you saying goodbye to your stream just then. How was that race for you? I know the first one didn't go great.
Second race was okay. Really shame about netcode with Lopez and T1 because I wanted to fight for the podium. But we'll get stronger to the Red Bull Ring. I'm so excited for this.
I'm glad to hear that there was a big crash. You were able, of course, to get out of most of the chaos in race number 2. When we go to the Red Bull Ring, it's a little less of an oval type of a race. How easy is it going to be to pass there? Because here, it didn't seem that easy, all things considered.
Well, we'll see. I think that Red Bull Ring will be more interesting race with the Porsche Cup car. And of course, we'll get more laps, so that's going to be about tire management as well. So yeah, that's definitely going to be less oval race than this one at Watkins Glen.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see both of you in a couple of weeks' time. But Paul, that's the All-Stars all done and dusted, and now we just have the mid-season tournament to look forward to.
Yeah, we certainly do. This is going to be fantastic, and always great to hear from our all-stars, not just the podium sitters, but also the drivers that we don't often get to speak to as well during those races. Always good to hear from those as well. But the all-stars, I mean, it was entertaining, it was exciting, but it shows how difficult it is to be in a pack race here.
Yes, and now let's go from, what was it, 15 to 30. Let's double the numbers. Let's rise the stakes as well, right? Winner gets $50,000 of the entire championship. The mid-season tournament winner, $4,000 as well to add to that. Paul, this is going to be wild, and we mentioned it a few times. Fixed setup, the drivers haven't been working on dialing their cars in. They've dialed themselves in.
I can tell you right now, we'll give you the results of qualifying in a few moments, but it's 1/10 of a second covering the top 13 drivers in qualifying. Stick around, we'll be right back with the Porsche eSports Supercup. This is what we're all here for. We are at Le Mans. Barney, the flag man, is waiting and ready. Revs are rising. Great launch from pole position for Cooper Webster. Oh my goodness, around goes Collins. Behind Sebastian Jones, boxing out McEwen. He's just got to get through the final chicane. Cooper Webster is a race winner in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup.
In this world, it's all about fine lines. The line between success and failure. First place and last. Blurring the lines between reality and perfection. You've got to leave it all on the line. Welcome to Season 6.
Well, get ready, because this is going to be a fun-filled evening, a mid-season tournament here at Watkins Glen in New York State, and there's going to be a lot on the line here. $4,000 for the main race winner here today, but there's a lot of championship points on the line as well, Arjuna.
Yeah, it's a format that maybe some will take, a look at some of the Rallycross championships and say it's stolen from that. I think you look back to last year, ESLR1, and some of the new formats that were trialed there, and see Porsche being willing to try new stuff out. And it's going to be exciting to see how it all works. Fast, frenetic racing. That's what in store for, because the heat races 3 laps long to make a difference and get up to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be tremendous to watch. You will not want to go anywhere. Here we are then at the midway point of the championship. Watkins Glen International for this mid-season tournament. Next time out, we will head to the Red Bull Ring with Imola and Monza following that one up. Here's a look then, Arjuna, at how it's all going to work. We've got 5 3-lap heat races, 6 drivers per heat, under the top 2 advancing to the final.
And the way that the qualifying works is the 30 drivers have set times. First goes to heat 1, second to heat 2, third to heat 3, etc., etc. And then 6th repeats that cycle. So they're all split up into effectively snake splits in their qualifying results. Small races for the heat races, and that's something to keep in mind because, Paul, there isn't going to be much on-track action until the Consolation and feature races where there's more than 10 cars on track.
Yeah, don't forget that the race winners of each of those heat races get 25 championship points. That's why I say there's a lot on the line. It could really mix up the championship. If you don't automatically qualify from those heat races, you've got a 8-lap consolation race with 20 drivers. The top 5 then advance to that feature race where we will see 15 cars competing. Here's how the championship stands after qualifying. I make that point because because Sebastian Job is leading by 50 points. He hasn't extended that lead after qualifying. We'll touch that momentarily. One driver who has had a good qualifying, however, is a driver in third place. Luke McEwen is now just 69 points behind, and that's because Luke McEwen, for the first time in his Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup career, is a pole position sitter here, Arjuna.
He won the sprint race, of course, to open up the season at Daytona. It's been a nice steady start, consistently in the top 10, and now breaks the streak of Sebastian Job with, again, a time that is only 9 thousandths quicker than those behind. Margins through the field as tight as ever. Luke McEwen joins us now in the broadcast booth to talk us through the lap. Luke, first off, congratulations. I know the nerves in qualifying are high. Must be an exciting time. We're watching you set up in through the penultimate corner, getting ready to go. Talk to us about the lap.
Yeah, I mean, this lap it's not much to it, obviously, 4 corners, so just got to find every little minimal piece possible. So getting a good run out of the last corner is crucial to set up the lap. And here you want to be just making sure everything's all set up, ready for the first corner. Going to the first corner, you want to be looking at 300 board, brake in. Very good minimum speed for this corner, but exit is super important. As you can see, running right to the limit of the curb. Now running up through the S's, you want to, like I said, get good exit out of the last corner is crucial to carry all the speed on the long straight. Here we go through the S's, just carrying the tightest line possible to minimize distance and gain, like I said, with the margins being so small, you want to gain as much time as possible through the easy stuff. Going into the carousel, going to be looking on the left hand side, going down the gears into 4th gear, clipping the apex pretty late, hugging the curb, and this track, and this corner even, this track is really high load, so you don't want to get the car to unsettle because you'll lose so much time, so keeping the car balance is there. Going into the last sector now, 300 board, down into 5th gear, carry the speed through here, don't go too wide up here because you need to get the car back left into the last corner, getting a good run out of the last corner, being super close to the wall there to not get the 0x, and that is, yeah, the pole lap's pretty good, and you're really happy with it.
You say pretty good, but 13 drivers effectively split by 1/10 of a second. Luke, the margins we're talking in qualifying are ultra fine. Get one lap, the pressure's on. Come on, you must be pretty proud of that lap.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But yeah, the team's done a really good job with practicing quali this week. As you see, Johan's P2 with a lot of us up there, and yeah, obviously we've really nailed it this week.
Well, Luke, thanks for joining us to talk through that lap. Go off and get ready to go. You'll be ready racing, of course, in heat number 1. But Paul, boy, that was an interesting lap. It was only 4 corners, yes, but 4 corners you've got to nail.
Oh, you have to get everything minutely right here in this series. Like I said, less than 1/10 of a second covered the first 13 drivers. Our man who's been setting all the pole positions all season, Sebastian Job, he's down in 9th in that qualifying. As you say though, the grids now get set based on the qualifying, so Luke McEwen will be starting the first race here from pole position, and he has got 3 laps to try and finish in that top 2. Preferably for him, he wants to win.
Yeah, ultimately, those championship points are vital, right? And the main thing is stay out of that consolation race. Stay out of there. You don't want to be in there, Paul. We talked about it so much in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship. One thing that I took from Luke's interview, just to quickly touch on it, he said he practiced a lot of qualifying. How much have the likes of Sebastian Job done in that?
Well, let's have a look then. This is the grid for the first heat. Remember, 3 racers, 6 cars. It's Luke McEwen from Luca Keita on the front row. Cooper Webster, main race winner last time out. He's on row 2 with Michael Janney and Lassie Back and Josh Thompson, rounding out your 6-car grid for this first of 5 heats coming up here today in this, the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. And, well, Arjuna, what are you thinking then? We've both got a lot of experience of calling heat racing. What's your thoughts going into this first one?
You're going to see a little bit of an incident at some point through these heat races, right? So stay out of it. You get 3 laps. That's 3 opportunities to make something happen. Just throw it at the wall and hopefully it comes out on top. I think it's one of those races, Paul, that will be unpredictable.
So, for the first time here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup, we have got a mid-season tournament. Stick around because you are going to love this. The drivers will look to the starters gantry, the revs rise, and we're green flag racing here. Luke McEwen gets a good start straight away, blocks off Luca Keita, and here comes Cooper Webster to the inside of turn number 1. They're going too wide through the first turn, and out they go through turn number 1 then. It is McEwen, Webster, Keita, Gianni, Thompson and back are at the that's the 6th field here, and look at that red line on our timing tower. That's the qualifying places you want to be, first or second.
You're not going to force it if you're at the front. You're going to force it though if you're in second. You don't feel comfortable if teammates behind you can work together. Keita and Johnny have to watch because Thompson tries to go around the outside, but Lasso back all by himself at the back, I think is going to be just trying to get grid position, Paul, for the consolation race. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the most important of the heat races, I do think, is getting pole position. If you win, you get pole position for that main race. But look at how tight everything is together here. We're going to be 2 laps to go here in this race, so not long at all. 4 moves to be made, but Luke McEwen feeling the need to go a little bit defensive because the slipstream here, it is strong, Arjuna, really strong.
And we saw it from Daniel Gray, right? Defense can be done. Just have to place the car right time, make your moves. Cooper Webster's going to try and make some side drafts on occasion as well. He's trying to get back underneath, but the timing's not there. And now he's got, unfortunately, Luca Keita already with a little bit of an overlap. His Oracle Red Bull sim racing machine is trapped, can go nowhere as we run to the outer loop. Just 2 laps, of course, to go. 2 more opportunities through this long right-hander to make a difference.
Oh, Keita holding that line. He's been compromised there. That's going to allow Josh Thompson to now come at him here as they come out the carousel, heading towards the penultimate corner. The two Stormforce gaming cars trying to work together. Josh Thompson getting the elbows out, and he's run wide. That's dropped him to the back of the field here. We're going to be starting 1 final lap in this opening heat race. It is Luke McEwen, Cooper Webster currently in the transition pieces. As things stand, the 2 Stormforce gaming cars, though, Luca Keita and Michael Gianni, they need to move and need to move now.
The difference between first and second is starting at the front of the main race, starting 6th. Same difference as well when it goes to the consolation races. Luca Keita, Michael Gianni might just be fighting for the front of that consolation race. Paul, I get the sense Cooper Webster has to go defensive, has to go to the outside to cover, but he's not going to do it. He feels comfortable on the inside.
I think Cooper Webster's just wanted to qualify automatically. Keita to the outside again. He tried this last lap, it didn't work. It might work this time. He's carrying the speed all the way around, and he's going to challenge for the lead of this race. Absolutely sensational move here from Luca Keita, heading into the penultimate corner here. It is Luke McEwen, pole sitter on the outside. Luca Keita, they're on the outside, last corner. Can they get through and get through cleanly? There's cars in the wall, but never mind that, because across the line it is going to be Luke McEwen, who just by 3/100ths of a second takes the win from Luca Keita.
I said Luke McEwen, Cooper Webster had to go outside. He didn't. He paid the price because around the outside, Luca Keita bowled, and that was a great move, Paul.
There you see those results. Webster, Gianni, back, and Thompson will get an opportunity again in the second heat race. Speaking of, in the consolation race, should I say. Second heat race now. Johan Half, Marina Sarica are the front row with Oscar Pai and Alejandro Sanchez. Bryn Collins and Chris Lullum round out your 6-car grid in heat number 2. Well, if that's going to be the level of the excitement in the first race, me and you, Arjuna, are going to struggle to keep our voices.
Yeah, that was a guarantee coming into this one. Drivers as well, in this unique format, right, Paul, will be watching on through the other heats. They'll be seeing the lines, they'll be learning, they'll be understanding what other drivers are doing to be fast, and maybe they can adjust. These drivers have now 10 more seconds to think about, right, Heat 1 was crazy. We saw Keita go to the outside on the final lap. Do I want to do that as well?
We said the action was going to be fast and frenetic, and this is what you get. Heat number 2 is going to be underway. Drivers will be looking to the starters gantry And here we go, green flag, we're underway once again, and it's a good start from Johan Half. He's going straight away defensive on Moreno Sarica. Here comes Oscar Pye to the boot lid of Johan Half's car. Through turn number 1 they go, and Half from Sarica, Pye, Sanchez, Collins and Lulham. As things stand right now, it's Half and Sarica that will go through to the main race.
Let's talk championship quickly. Cooper Webster came into this one 6th in points. Him missing out on the main race automatically. Disaster for him as Oscar Pye tries to battle as well. We all just filter our way into the outer loop. Johan Half, Alejandro Sanchez, Chris Lulham. These are all drivers inside of the top 7. Paul, 25 points of the race winner. And a spot in the main event as, that's going to be a big one.
That's Moreno Sarica out. There's a VRS Quanta Sim Sport car, and around they go. Chris Lulham, Bryn Collins. It's down to 3 to qualify for the main race now. It all got a little bit too excited there, but Oscar Pye for the Coanda eSports team leads from Alejandro Sanchez. Don't forget, Sanchez, he was once a championship contender here in this championship back in 2020. He's wanting an opportunity. He's been missing out on this.
And he hasn't had a great start to the season, let's be honest. 2nd place, though, at Le Mans in the main race. It felt like Sanchez was back. Seemingly for Chris Lulham, though, double podium at Le Mans as well. He's now down in 4th position running. Contrasting, impacts of how quickly races can turn around. Bit of a shove there from Johan Half as they try and go around Oscar Pye. Look at Sanchez slam the door shut. And now Half tries to go around the outside of his fellow Frenchman.
Oh, yeah, it's the 2 drivers racing under the tricolor. Out of the carousel, heading towards the penultimate corner. Well, onto the brakes, through the left, into the right. We are going to have one more lap remaining here. Stormforce Racing with Sanchez then at the front, ahead of Oscar Pye for VRS Commander Esports. Johan Half, 3rd. He's on the outside looking in here. Where does he make that move, Arjuna?
This is where his rallycross experience comes into play, of course, right? iRacing rallycross world champion back in the day, and he'll know when to really make these moves. He helped give the bump draft to Sanchez, who made the pass around the outside on the previous lap. He's going to have to go for it this time. And watch as Sanchez makes the obvious choice to go a little bit wide. Pye tried to follow, and Hart's up the inside and following the Stormforce car to the outer loop.
Oh, and into the braking zone for the carousel. Half to the inside. And the VRS Commander Esports driver of Oscar Pye, no room at the end for him. So Sanchez and Half, of course, former teammates under the Apex Racing Team banner in previous seasons, running under different team names, and Pye takes to the runoff, looking to the inside of the final corner. No move being made there, so it's going to be Alejandro Sanchez who goes into the main race along with Johan Half automatically.
Engineered by Johan Half, and that was the calculating Frenchman who got that figured out exactly the way that he wants, and now has to watch on and see exactly who all will join him, Paul.
Yeah, there's your results then, and it is Sanchez from Half, and then Pye, Lulham, Collins and Sarica rounds out your 6 results. And we're going to be getting straight into this next race, looking at the qualifying results, and we also want to try and get a word with a couple of our drivers as well. But I can see that we are getting set. The drivers are getting themselves to the grid for this next race as well. Arjuna, quickly with our race winners.
Yeah, let's chat to Alejandro Sanchez and Luke McEwen. First to Luke first. I mean, pole position converted to the race win. Was it as simple as that?
I mean, yeah, we had to do some teamwork. Obviously, to have 3 of us in the heat is really nice. And yeah, played it perfectly and got me and Luca into the feature. So yeah, pretty going well so far.
Around the outside, Alejandro on the 2nd lap to get to the lead. That was a bold move. Talk us through that one. Haven't seen that too much today so far.
I was just working with Johan and we knew what to do. We were in good communication. Unfortunately, lap 1 saw some incidents. But yeah, we just knew that if you hold the car on the inside like very tight on through the carousel, you can make it work. So that's what we did.
You guys will be watching, waiting for the main race. Thanks for joining us, guys. Best of luck in that main event.
Thank you.
There we go then. Great to hear from our race winners. We're 2 heats down, Arjuna, 3 heats to go. And one thing that we have noticed is incidents. If you get involved in them, they can have a huge effect very quickly.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that I guess we take from the Rallycross Championship, Paul, and understanding these incidents, you get involved in something during the heat, it's not going to impact you until after the feature race. So you go through the rest of this just incurring the result of whatever incident there was, and then the penalty points start to come on down, and they can be quite impactful. Major championship contenders have to stay out of trouble because championships can come undone by the negative penalty points.
They certainly can. We've got a couple of minutes before the next race here. You can see the results then of the heat, of the last heat on the ticker below the screen, where you've also got information about how it's 40% off of all new memberships here on iRacing. So do make sure you join us here for that. But a lot of these drivers, they've not really experienced this sort of heat racing. You touched on it. Johan Harv, Zach Campbell, I would say as well. Those two do have a lot of experience. Parker White as well, potentially.
You say Zach Campbell, he's done some iRacing All-Stars once or twice. It's not like he was doing it too competitively, but you're not wrong. I think what I take a bit more of a glance at, though, is the record that someone like Bobby Zelensky has had at Watkins Glen, right? We make so many comparisons to oval racing with this track in particular. How do eNASCAR drivers make that transition? Casey said maybe it helped him a little bit, but look at Bobby. It took him until last year to get his first ever podium in the series, one of the longest running drivers in iRacing World Championship history. And that goes to show that as much as there's crossover, as much as we talk about the racecraft carrying over, it's not as simple as that.
It's certainly not that simple. But I will speak of Zach Campbell. He's going to be starting from pole position. Alongside him is the 2023 Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup champion of Jordan Caruso. Parker White, Matti Sipilä, then on the second row of the grid with Simone Mineo Marcheno and Jakub Maciejewski rounding out the 6 cars in this heat. 30 seconds, Arjuna. This is all about getting yourself onto the front or into 3rd place on the grid for the main race.
Yeah, and I'm going to be curious. Zach Campbell, Jordan Caruso, Coanda and Altus have had a technical alliance in the past. How friendly are they going to be with each other at the front? Because they, of course, sit in those transfer spots, but with the field looming behind them, engines ready to rev, it's anything but easy to hold 1 and 2.
It certainly is. It's easier said than done, that is for sure. Well, the drivers now will be indeed revving those engines and looking to the starter's stand. Barney the flagman is ready, and we are going to go green flag racing here for heat number 3 in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup mid-season tournament. It's a great launch from Zach Campbell and from Jordan Caruso at the front of the field. Parker White slots in 3rd place out of the first turn. We're going to head up the S's, and these drivers will be pushing these cars all the way then through to the carousel. Absolutely the throttle pedal welded to the bulkhead in front of them. And already Parker White looking to make some moves, and Matti Sipilä picking that outside lane with him.
I'm not sure about the call from Jordan Caruso to hold the inside. His teammate Simone Mineo Marcheno, the Italian stallion, is going to try and fill the hole behind him to try and just build the queue. Or Caruso leans on White, runs him just a little bit wide. 1 and 2 stay as they are. White now slings it back to the right, holds on to the 3rd spot. But Paul, 3-lap races, little bits of contact like that, those are things that the drivers will remember.
Oh yes, these drivers have got a long memory, I can tell you. It is VRS Coanda Esports, Zach Campbell in 1st place ahead of the Altus Esports drivers of Jordan Caruso and Simone Mineo Marcheno in 2nd and 3rd place. Parker White, Matti Sipilä and Jakub Maciejewski are switching places at the back of the field. They don't want to be fighting too hard or else they could lose the draft here.
Yeah, I think we're at that stage as well, right? Already halfway through, effectively, as we rise up the top of the S's, that it's between these top 3 or 4. It's Parker White that's going to have to find a way past Marciano. Marciano's not going to force anything on Jordan Caruso. As much as we know he's feisty, he recognizes the situation at hand. And no changes into the carousel pole. I think that's an indication of just what to expect. Caruso does, by the way, have visual damage on the left rear. So a clear indication of the contact with Parker White.
And here comes Parker White at Caruso's teammate in Marciano into the penultimate corner. We are going to be seeing the white flag in the air for one more lap of racing here in the 3rd heat of the day. Across the line they go, and it is Campbell from Caruso, from Marciano, from White, Maciejewski and Sipola. Sipola's dropping back off of the back of this group. So it's the top 5, but realistically, it's the top 4 that've got an opportunity. We've seen how on the last lap and previous heats that it really picks up.
The track may start to rubber in at this point as well. As the laps start to accumulate, it'll be a minor difference, but those small changes with that fixed setup, the drivers that can adjust to them the best will come out on top. That's what I was talking about, where I don't think Marciano was really going to force the issue with Caruso. Too dangerous of a topic, especially knowing the inside can hold on, but there goes Parker White, bold around the outside, and he might just get it done.
Parker White could make a move right at the end of this race, yet the Williams eSports driver, he won't be too happy with the little rub that he got from Caruso. There's more contact between the 2 of them. Marciano's wide, White's down to the back of the field. That's going to affect his qualifying spot for the Consolation. More cars off, but it's Campbell from Caruso who automatically qualify for the main race.
Well, it's 1 and 2, as I think many would have expected, but that chaos through the penultimate corner, Parker White's desperation pull, shows just what this format was meant to do.
Yeah, it really does indeed. There's your results then. So Marciano, Sipola, White and Maciejewski will all have to do it in the Consolation race. 2 more heat races coming up for you here in this mid-season tournament. And here's the grid then. Matthias Stuckbeck for Heuer Simsport. And look at that, alongside him, Sebastian Job. Not the best qualifying from Sebastian. He's in 2nd place on the grid with Julian Sonnen and Salva Talens. Sam Keiter and Dino Lombardi round out the 6 drivers. Arjuna, Sebastian Job, what does he need to do here?
He needs to make sure he gets first. I mean, he can't be second because he's at risk then of being, with one incident like that in the Consolation, second here as well. Don't trust the commentator's math, but he'll line up 9th, of course, then in that main race. I don't think that's a comfortable position to be in.
Well, the drivers set for 3 laps of action. It's heat 4 of 5. Just this, and 1 more heat race to go. And we are green flag racing once again. Good start from Matthias Stuckbeck on pole position. Sebastian Job slots in behind him. Julian Sonnen looking to the inside of Job, already into turn 1, and around he goes. Job is wide. He's losing places, and that is proving, Arjuna, what you were talking about.
But credit to Job, he saw it coming, gave the room, and just enough room to avoid being tagged. He's still alive, he's still got a chance here, and let's be honest, are you going to count out a driver that started the season off by finishing 2nd, first, and then 7th? The answer to that is no. Job down in 5th, but by no means down and out.
Yeah, as running wide a little bit with Salva Talens. Matthias Stuckbeck is running away at the front as much as he can do in one of these races. Sam Keiter is trying to get his shoulders out here with Salva Talens. Too wide. Oh, and a little bit of a rub, a little bit of contact. Around they're going. And this is the trouble for your championship leader, Sebastian Job. Where does he go in all of this? It's up to 3rd place already.
That's what I was saying. You cannot count Sebi out. He'll be around the outside, and this is where he might even get the momentum. Even though Talens, you might think, gets a better exit off the corner initially, both of them run a little bit wider than maybe you'd normally want to do. It allows Talens to sweep in front, but now feeds that drop. again, never count Sebastian Job out. He's having one of those seasons, Paul. One of those seasons where captain consistent at the front.
And look at him, Job's getting a push along from Sam Keita. There's more contact between him and Salva Talons onto the brakes between the two of them, and the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing driver to the outside, Sebastian Job. Oh, it's neck and neck though. Salva Talons is not giving this one up without a fight. And more contact, banging doors. They need to be careful with that one. Job, and there goes Talons. Off he goes, fired off into the gravel and the wall. And Sam Keita was the one that he made contact with. Was there a push or did he fall? Well, there was definitely contact, but one thing I can tell you is Matthias Stuckback will be looking in his mirrors and thinking, well, what's going on, boys?
Hey, give him a bit of credit as well. He's done a sterling job. I mean, he's just driven clean, not paid attention to the chaos behind. Now, I get the feeling that Sebastian, you were talking about race control and penalty points earlier. Sebastian Joe, very, very lucky to be in front of all of that chaos and not a worry about what race control is going to say about that. I think maybe it was Lombardi that got into Koiter. Whatever the case is, Paul, this is what this heat racing style of format, whatever you want to call it, is meant to bring. Action. When you have few laps, few opportunities to make things happen, drama ensues. Sebastian Joe to the back and back to the front.
Yeah, so Matthias Stuckback then, he's just got 2 more corners to go. He was on pole position for this race, don't forget. That means that he out-qualified Sebastian Job on pace, and he certainly deserves to be where he is. So Matthias Stuckback for Heuer, he is going to come across the line, take victory here in Heat 4 ahead of Sebastian Job. They automatically transition to the main race. The rest of them, Keita, Lombardi, Sonnen and Talons, they've got to do it the tough way in the Consolation. Well, we're going to get a quick breath here between races, because we are going to be able to speak to the 2 race winners from Heats 3 and 4 here, Arjuna. A bit more contact than I would like to see, I think, but certainly plenty of action to talk about, as here are the winners.
Paul wants to go back to the iRacing Rallycross World Championship days is what I'm hearing. But in this heat racing format, Zach Campbell, Matthias Stuckback join us now. Zach, I'll ask you first. Are you having fun?
No. Next question.
Talk to us about the 1 and 2 qualifying and being able to finish like that. How predictable was that from your perspective?
To be honest, that worked out really, really well. Me and Jordan were kind of game planning how we wanted to do our respective heats at around kind of 1 or 2 a.m. my time last night, just trying to figure out like probably 10 or 15 different scenarios and stuff, and luckily we ended up in the same heat, so that kind of worked out. And really, you should be interviewing him, because he kind of helped us both through and really kind of controlled everything exactly how he needed to.
And Matthias, I mean, from your perspective, we were just saying what an almost perfect race it was for you, but, you know, so much chaos behind you. What was going through your mind as you saw what was happening on the relative?
Yeah, I was really happy when I saw it on lap 1, but there was still 6/10 or so they could still get back, but then more stuff happened, so I just tried to like keep my head cool and just drive safe, no risks, no slowdowns, no anything, just, yeah, and it worked, so I'm really happy. Easy race, like compared to the others I've seen today.
Congratulations on the heat wins. More importantly, congratulations on 25 points, and best of luck in the main race, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there we go. We're down to 1 final heat race here in this one. The last few drivers who get their opportunity. We are actually missing 1 driver this week, so 5 drivers will take this final race. And it's the last opportunity for 2 drivers to qualify themselves to that main feature race. The others, well, they'll have to take part in that Consolation. Speaking of those 5, Alessandro Bico on pole position alongside him. Second in the championship, Diogo Pinto of Team Redline. Oscar Irine and Kevin Nielsen then on row number 2. And Gustavo Ariel are rounding out those 5 drivers. 1 less driver, Arjuna, and we're going to see less contact or more.
Well, you never say less, right? I think 1 driver missing, Quintin Violate, might be actually going out. He's been doing some real-world rally driving, so best of luck to Quintin. Hope we see him soon.
absolutely be good to see him back. But these drivers now, great opportunity for some big points to be gained in this championship and to help them out in the series, to move them up through the championship standings. The revs are rising and we're all set for heat number 5, the final one. We are green flag racing. Good launch off the front row for Alessandro Bico, and that allows him to pull ahead of Diogo Pinto. Here comes Oscari to the inside in the BS competition. Zebra, and out of turn number 1 into the S's. It's still going to be Pinto ahead though. Bico's trying to make a breakaway because they're going too wide for second.
He'll love this in his rearview mirror, and as much as Oscari tried it in through turn 1, it's basically just returned him now down to 4th position and trying to hold off Nielsen, I think, who's recognized that let's bump draft, close that gap and see what we can do in trying to work forward. Now, Alessandro Bico's not out of drafting range, Paul. 3-lap race, that gap may come down. Is it going to come down enough to try and see it? Pinto and Ariel can work their way forward to 1 and 2.
Rene just dropping back to 5th place there, so Oscari, after making that move at turn 1, has dropped all the way to the back of this field as they come through the penultimate corner into that final one, past our camera position here. And it's going to be Alessandro Bico who leads ahead of Diogo Pinto. Those two are in the automatic transition point. They will go through to the main race if they finish where they are. The unknown element for them really though is Gustavo Ariel. He'll be working together with Pinto here, seeing as they are working together in the same team. But Ariel, he can be a little bit of a firebrand, can't he? A little bit of a make a move or two.
Yeah, Gustavo Ariel, someone that we know as well. He won here on the road to the World Championship and then won the sprint race here last year when we came with a regular format as opposed to the mid-season tournament. So he seems to gel with these sort of flowing layouts as well. You know, maybe there's something in the way that you race here that works for him. The problem is we're coming to 1 to go. He's going to be very careful. The last thing you want to do, right, is sit your teammate in front of you. And I don't know if they're going to have enough speed out of turn 1 to pass Bico. And again, let's call it out, Paul. What is maybe the best livery in all of 2024?
Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic to see. And Ariel, of course, does not want to take out the driver and teammate ahead, who is in 2nd place in the championship. These are some big points on offer here, and if Pinto wants to be able to catch up to Job, he wants a win here. Because Job only finished 2nd in his heat. Pinto wants the win.
Talk about penalty points very quickly again. Inside of the top 10, only 2 drivers. Zach Campbell, Cooper Webster had 0 coming into this one. All the championship contenders have had to fight to put themselves into the position. And now Pinto the long way around. Ariel's going to hang back and see what he can do. Launching off with a long carousel, the long right-hander.
We saw drivers Luca Kita do this earlier on, all the way back in that first heat. He's got to leave space as Bico, absolutely neck and neck, and here comes Ariel. He's following his teammate to the inside of the penultimate corner, but no, he's not been able to get alongside into the final corner. Pinto's leaving the room, he has to. Here comes Bico. It's going to be absolutely neck and neck at the line, but it's going to be Pinto who wins ahead of Bico. They qualify. Well, Ariel, Nielsen and Rene are all going to be starting in the consolation race.
I tell you,
see those results, but it's going to be difficult as this consolation, only 5 qualify from 20 drivers.
And I tell you what, I think Alessandro Bico, Paul, played that about as perfect as he could. He was too far out in front. He didn't let Pinto box him out with Ariel and holds on to the transfer spot. And so now let's go down to have a chat with Diogo Pinto, who joins us now. Diogo, I mean, I've got to say, this heat racing stuff, it looks quite fun from the spectator perspective. I think we might just have lost Diogo Pinto. He's throwing on the correct headset to come and have a chat with us. Diogo, the ever-professional Paul, I think, just getting things sorted out.
You see, this is where you got to be a little bit prepared for it. We will get Diogo very briefly. We've got about 2 minutes before the start of this consolation race. We'll touch on that in just a few moments' time. But yeah, we've lost Pinto. Consolation race. We've both commentated on heat racing style. This Consolation race, the gloves come off.
It's not just the gloves come off, right? But you see sometimes, and it's a weird way to say this, you see a different side of drivers occasionally because you see them get desperate. Only 5 out of 20 advance. We're going to eliminate 75% of the drivers in this Consolation race after 8 laps of racing. And 8 laps of racing is what, around here, 10 minutes or so? It's not much time. You've got to stay out of trouble. I'm just going to go back to it. Sebastian Job stayed out of trouble. He was able to work his way back forward after that opening lap. It can be done. Diogo Pinto's got the headset on. He's joined us now. Diogo, make sure you unmute your microphone. Talk to us about that race.
Yeah, it was a very intense race, especially turn 1. I thought it was going to be doored off, but yeah, worked out nicely. Gustavo was very crucial for me to get P1, and yeah, it's not a great event for the team so far, but hopefully the boys can get out of the Consolation, and we'll see in the future race.
Well, thank you very much, Diogo, for that. Here is the grid for the Consolation. It's Webster and Pai on the front row, Marceno, Kaita, Ariel and Gianni on row number 3. Lullen, Sipola, Lombardi and Nielsen with Back and Collins on row number 6. White, Sonin, Rene, Thompson with Sarika, Maciejewski. And the final few on the grid, in fact the final one, Salva Talent rounding out this field. It's 19 cars, only 5 qualify for the main race. 13 seconds. Do we see a surprise in this one, Arjuna?
I think you're going to see a surprise. I think some championship contenders are going to become very, very important.
So, the drivers then, they know that they've got an opportunity of getting themselves into the main race, but it's a last chance. It's a consolation. There's no championship points on the line here. It's all about getting into that main race. The green flag is out. We're underway. It's 8 laps of action here at Watkins Glen. Great start from Cooper Webster in towards turn number 1. We go. We're going 3 wide further back in the field as they go through turn 1 for the first time. It is Webster, Pai, Marceno, Kaita, Nariel. You see that red line? That is the spot. If you're in 5th and above, you qualify for that main race. You start at the back of the grid of that main race, but you're in it. That's the important thing. And already Oscar Pai is looking to make some moves.
I think the thing is, right, it's gone from a transfer line at 2nd to transfer line at 5th. And now there is a little bit of a thing, right? Yes, there are more cars, but you have a little more protection if you're at the front. So I'm a bit surprised in some ways to see Oscar Pai going for it on the opening lap, but he'll try and stick it around the outside to become on the inside of the penultimate corner. And credit to both him and Cooper Webster. They've made it work, but what a shot, Paul. First time we've had more than 6 cars out on track at any one time, and they made it work on this opening lap, almost 2 by 2 through the field.
Well, we've got to get around the last corner before they make it through the opening lap.
Optimism, Paul.
But it is Oscar Pai in the lead ahead of Cooper Webster. But Marceno and Kaita and Ariel is your top 5. But Gianni is making some moves as well, although he's gone wide at turn number 1. That allows Ariel to go back into that transfer spot of 5th place as Gianni moves down the order to 11th, going from battling for 5th down to 11th here. Kevin Nielsen is going to be the next one to try and displace Gustavo Ariel here in this one. We're going to keep with this one all the way, Arjuna, because this is the important spot.
I tell you what, Michael Gianni got very lucky because his lack of momentum up through the S's could have made things very problematic for 10th on back, but we got through safely. 2 laps about of 8 about to be complete, but Lasse back in the wall. That was a hard hit for the Fire Sim Sport machine as well. 19 entered, down to the 18. Paul, it does kind of feel like a Royal Rumble. If only we could eliminate them 1 lap at a time. Next time.
If only we could bring in a driver every 90 seconds. But as we go through the final corner and things are checking up at the front of the field, I'll tell you what, Ariel's got a bit of a gap because of Sipola making his way through and getting ahead of some of the others. That has just allowed the front 5 to break away a little bit. This is the thing, if you're those drivers outside of those transfer spots, you can't fight too hard or else you're going to be too far back.
you're trying to play the risk management. Charlie Collins went 3 wide up the inside to get to 7th because he thought that if he was too far back in this pack, even if they did get back up to the trailing end of 4th, 5th and 6th, those sort of points, there's not much he was going to be able to do. So I think, Paul, you're playing on a knife edge now, and Smoke, Marceno's gone slow, the 27 still trying to get back straight and up to speed.
Oh, and that's just opened up the transfer spots for the drivers now. Big crash. That is going to be Bryn Collins. That's going to be Chris Lullum. They're into the barriers, into the gravel trap. Goodbye. That's the end of their race. Michael Jarney involved in all of that one as well. And all of a sudden, in the space of 2 corners, Arjuna, we've had some big moves.
And what did we say about this event at the start? Stay out of the Consolation, especially if you're a championship contender. What did we say right before the green flag of this race? Championship contenders, their story's going to be important. Now, Chris Lullum came into this one, yes, rather back in points, but 5th in the championship. He's done for the day, Paul. He'll be watching on, and I'm sure going to be quite frustrated. This is the nature of the racing at Watkins, Glen. We know it. You can't say it's down to the format. It was just so crazy last year when we had the sprint and the main.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a very good point there, Arjuna, that the racing was intense around this venue last year as well, and we did have those incidents. We did have a bit of mixing up and certainly a bit of excitement last year. This year, well, it's no different. It's just that this time we've got a tournament to decide all of this. So your top 5 at the halfway point of the race. Oscar Pai leads this race ahead of Cooper Webster, with Matti Sipola in 3rd place. Sam Kiter 4th ahead of Gustavo Ariel, who's only just ahead of Dino Lombardi. There you see them on the screen right now. Lombardi in the Altus eSports car. Look on the outside looking in. He can afford to be a little bit patient because he has got the best part of half a second gap between him and Kevin Nielsen.
Yes, but I also wonder if he's not closing enough to really have a look. So you need to, once you get to the back, really have a good try at it. Track temperature, quite curiously, Paul. iRacing's dynamic model is wonderful, right? And sometimes you get cloud cover, which we have for this. And so what I thought at one point was going to be increasing temperatures over the course of the event, the final race expected to be the warmest. This is actually amongst the coolest it's been. We're down to 33 degrees Celsius. And so even though it's an 8-lap race as opposed to 3 laps, I don't think the drivers are going to be too worried about the tires with this fixed setup. They're just going to be pushing helter-skelter and hoping to stay out of the walls.
Now, the drivers at the front, the top 5 here, they know they're going to be starting 11th through to 15th. Are you trying to work your way to the front of this just to get yourself to the front of those others, as we've had an accident in the background of shot there, and Josh Thompson, I can tell you, has now been the latest one to fall down the order, so he's done and out of this race.
Back in the Supercup, but not enjoying the luck for Josh Thompson. Well, we're seeing side by side for the leaders, Oscar Pai and Cooper Webster battle it out in and amongst themselves. I think my best answer to your question, Paul, is I don't think it should matter. 11th or 15th, let's be honest, you're down the back. It's just a number at that point. You've got to make the moves regardless. I think ultimately it's about protection, and Cooper Webster's right now in the most comfortable position you'd have to think.
And Dino Lombardi is really putting the pressure on Gustavo Ariel. It's Brazil versus Italy as they come into the final corner. And Lombardi's been putting the moves on here. He's been moving Ariel around, forcing him to be defensive in all of this. That's slowing Ariel down, and he's still in the slipstream right now, but too much of that, you lose the slipstream and you lose your advantage when you're in 5th.
Got to wonder as well what Team Redline's management's watching on and thinking, because, I mean, Diogo mentioned it hasn't been a great day for the team. Already looks like Josh Thompson going to be out in the Verstappen.com car, Chris Lullum out as well. Sam Kuiper, Gustavo Ariel, they've got to make sure they stay inside of that top 5 and don't have any issues. It looks like we're going to see a little bit more chopping and changing up towards the front, though. And with that margin behind, Lombardi now 1.5 laps to go, Paul, it's time to really go for it. You can't afford to hang around any longer.
If you're in that top 4, I'm not making any moves because I do not want to tempt fate and have an incident so late on into this race now. You just want to get yourself into that main race. It's when it's Ariel and Lombardi, that is the main focus. That is where Lombardi needs to make a move and needs to make it stick sooner rather than later, because we're starting the last lap of the race.
Watch this run out of turn 1. Defensive from Gustavo Ariel. Is it going to compromise him as he gets onto the power? You can see them all just trying to make sure the momentum is carried up. Again, what is 100 feet of elevation? It's a rather intimidating climb from within the confines of the car. Looks a lot less dramatic from off-board shots. The margin at the front's quite significant. Something to keep in mind for the main race. Battle for the transfer spot. What will happen?
Oh, look at this. Ariel's getting a bit of help from Sam Keiter in front, a little bit of draft. We've got cars going backwards, further back in the field. But this is the important focus right now. Lombardi, he's trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work. Meanwhile, Cooper Webster's under some pressure from Matti Sipola. It doesn't matter whether you win this one or not, really, because it's only worth a position on the grid. Through the final 2 corners they go. Cooper Webster, he was a main race winner at Le Mans. This time he's had to do it the hard way. He's a winner here at Watkins Glen in the Consolation. Who's going to get the top 5? It's going to be Ariel at the line.
I mean, it was close, but not as close as maybe you'd want. 29 thousandths of a second between the 2 drivers. I mean, Paul, at the back, Gustavo Ariel going to be feeling rather thrilled that he held on. Cooper Webster, on the other hand, just going to be happy that he can fight for the win once more.
Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely been a sensational day so far. Cooper Webster ahead of Matti Sipola, with Oscar Pye, Sam Keiter and Gustavo Ariel. They all qualify for the main race. Everybody else, Lombardi, Sarika, Maciejewski, Nielsen, White, and the rest, they are all done for the day. They can pack up and think about what is going to happen next time out at the Red Bull Ring. But we do hopefully get to hear from our race winner in that Consolation in just a few moments' time, because I think the pressure was on there, Arjuna, in that one.
And I want to know how important it was for Cooper Webster to finish first versus finishing second, right? Like, I'm just quite curious from his perspective, the driver's perspective, how they feel about some of these quirks for this new format, Paul, that many of them are experiencing for the first time. Let's bring him in. Cooper Webster joins us now. Cooper, congratulations on surviving a Consolation race. Is that the first time you've ever been in this format in any sort of competition?
No, I do like dirt racing on iRacing sometimes, and I sort of know what it's about, and like I was familiar where you'd end up after the heats, and unfortunately I was in the first heat, but did an all right first heat. Was tough racing the 2 Apex cars there, but they did a good job to hold me behind, and then I had my work cut out for me in the Consolation, but held my nerves off and was happy with the result.
Let's talk a little bit about the end of that race as well in the Consolation. How important was it for you to finish first, knowing it gets you 11th on the grid versus 2nd, 12th, and etc., etc.? Something our Porsche Twitch chat's kind of wondering.
I mean, not so much important for that reason, but to be at the front, it's a little bit safer when you're racing in the Consolation, where you haven't got a car ahead slowing you down and then a car behind attacking. You just got yourself out in front, and typically it's a bit safer. So that's why I wanted to be in the lead, and I got a great run on that lap that I got to the lead, so I went for it when I didn't go for it in the first heat, and it was a mistake. So I'm happy that it paid off, and then everyone else stayed sensible.
Well, you heard it from the man himself. Cooper Webster wins that Consolation race. He'll be racing in a few moments' time in the main race, but let's switch gears, chat with Moreno Sarika that's joining us now. I mean, Moreno, it's an intriguing format. It was an intriguing heat for you as well, wasn't it?
I mean, what can I say, really? Disappointment, I guess, is just an easy, understandable statement, I guess. From my point of view, this is completely like a wrong format. You have teammates driving around just helping each other. Like, it's just not the way that should be done, in my opinion.
let's talk about the back half of the season that we've still got coming up. Still hasn't been a great start to the season by any means. Red Bull Ring up next, Imola and Monza. How are you hoping to get this Williams eSports number 69 back on track?
Yeah, I mean, qualifying performance has definitely improved. Last 2 rounds were good, so definitely at least hoping to get some top 10s also, because I really need it for my standings, my position in the standings. But it's definitely not been an easy start of the season, as you said. A lot of bad luck, really. I mean, I just really hope we can turn this bad luck around and have some decent results towards the end.
Well, Moreno, I'm sorry for how today went, but I'm hoping the next 3 races can go a little bit better. Best of luck moving forward for the rest of 2024.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. Then it's always good to hear from some of our drivers. Here is how we stand right now. We're on the right-hand side of that graphic. We're reaching the feature race. It's going to be 16 laps, a double the length of that Consolation race. 15 drivers in this race. The top 3, it's very, very tasty for them. The winner is going to be $4,000 richer in this one. Second, $1,600. Third place, $800. I mean, that's a nice little carrot to dangle in front of the drivers, but I think a lot of these will be thinking about their long-term championship aspirations as well.
Yeah, in our regular season events, the race winner grabs $1,000, so we've doubled that, we've quadrupled that with all the extra stress they have to deal with as well, I guess. I think Paul as well, you know, I think Moreno sounded a little bit frustrated there and unsure about how the format played for him. You heard Cooper, though, talking about, you know, his experience in dirt road and iRacing rallycross kind of helping him. It's a journey into the unknown as to what 16 laps from now we're going to see in terms of championship points.
Well, we've got 15 drivers on the grid, and it is led by Luke McEwen and Alejandro Sanchez, with Zach Campbell and Matthias Stuckback on row number 2. Diogo Pinto, the last of the heat winners, on row number 3 with Luca Kita. Johan Harp, Jordan Caruso, Sebastian Job on row 5 with Alejandro Bico. Cooper Webster, Matti Sipola, then from that Consolation, very little rest for them, along with Oscar Pai, Sam Keita and Gustavo Ariel. Rounds out the 15 drivers. This is something I was going to touch on it. Luke McEwen, Heat 1 was all the way back at the start of at the top of the hour. He's now racing here very quickly. How does that affect him?
It's something we talked about a lot in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, but counterintuitively, Paul, with the short races, the lack of the distance in terms of time between when McEwen raced and this, I don't think it'll be too bad in his quest to try and win $4,000 in 16 laps time.
16 laps are ahead of us here in this main feature race in this mid-season tournament. Green flag, and we are away! And it's a great launch for Luke McEwen on the front row of the grid, with Alejandro Sanchez, though, under pressure from Zach Campbell as they head into turn number 1. Through they go, and it's going to be Matthias Stuckback, 4th place behind them, slotting in as they go up the hill for the first time. As you say, 100 feet of elevation change here, and it's carrying the speed, carrying the draft as well in front of you. And if you can get a dancing partner, getting somebody into your lane, that can help you up here.
Who's going to be the most aggressive at the start? Because 16 laps of racing, 16 laps to make some enemies, 16 laps to work together and then break those ties at the end, depending on which way you want to swing it. It's one of those things where we keep talking about racecraft. What does that mean? Sometimes it means not racing. And so far, opening lap, we've got all 15 machines heading off to the penultimate corner. First side-by-side moment, back for 4th.
Yes, they go through that penultimate corner. Cars just running out wide into the runoff there. And then through the final corner, across the line, it's Luke McEwen who leads ahead of Alejandro Sanchez. Zach Campbell, 3rd place ahead of Matthias Stuckback. And then it's everybody else for 5th place. You can see how the championship standings are if they finish where they are now. Sebastian Job's lost a 14-point lead in this championship, although saying that, down the inside goes Job into turn 2, through the S's they go. This is tricky, this is dangerous stuff, but Job, sensational, up into 6th.
You have to know when to not make a move, you have to know when to make a move, and Sebastian Joe makes up 3 positions in the opening lap and a half, and now up to 6th position, putting himself in a more comfortable situation because there's less fighting up towards the front. I mean, look at them right now, McEwen and Sanchez, they're not going to fight till the end of the race. You can promise, we can pretty much guarantee you that, as Jones had an issue.
Yeah, he's down to 10th place, so he's dropping down the order here. You can see in live action just how that affects the points, and there he is then, the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing driver down to 10th. He's behind former teammate Johan Half there, so Half for the Apex Racing team has got into 9th ahead of Sebastian Job. It's not been a good day for Sebastian, has this one. And through then into 9th place now for Job, but there's more drama further back because Oscar Pai is dropping down the order.
I don't think that was too much drama for Sebastian Joe, by the way. Just seems as though maybe he was on the outside in towards the outer loop and just lost a couple of positions naturally. Now, is Zach Campbell going to suffer the same fate, or can the Stormforce machine bump Luke McEwen into a place to be able to block the momentum of the young Georgian? It will stay single file for the top 5 as they run right now, but I mean, you're seeing some of those decisions being made. Take a look at this. Job on the outside, as I was talking about, through the outer loop, and it's a dangerous place to leave yourself. I don't know if there's necessarily too much contact to talk about. It's the loss of momentum that really costs the championship leader.
And that was Jordan Caruso, that there was just ever the slightest of rubs, and Job had to get off the throttle, had to get out of it, and you lose that momentum. I mean, that carousel, you need to carry the speed out of that corner to take you towards the penultimate corner. It is so important to get that right. I mean, any corner around this particular layout of Watkins Glen, it's important to get the run out of those corners down the straights.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the drivers, by the way, as they look right now, they're just focused. They know what they need to do. We heard it from Zach Campbell, right? He and Jordan Caruso were up till, what, 2 in the morning, Zach Campbell's local time in the US, so they could talk about all the different situations. When you have packs like this, iRacing's AI may be a great tool for drivers to go and experience what you might have with 16 drivers. In the Apex Racing team's case, of course, they have the academy to help pad the numbers with real drivers, just to understand all these situations. Sanchez defensive, trying to block Pinto from working forward.
He certainly is. So Sanchez is doing a big defensive job right here and trying to hold on to that 2nd place, but he's also trying to stick with Luke McEwen in front of him as well. So across the line they go. 12 laps remaining in this race. It is McEwen from Sanchez, from Pinto. Zach Campbell in 4th place right now on the outside of the podium looking in, with Stuckbeck, Keita, Caruso, Biko, Job and Half is your top 10. Cooper Webster has not been able to move forward after that consolation race, starting position of 11th. And Gustavo Ariel is up a few places from the back of the grid.
Well, none of the drivers really who have, advanced from the consolation are actually inside of the top 10, so it's interesting that, they haven't actually been able to fight their way forward. But maybe it's a bit of it goes to show how important these allegiances are in terms of which lines you're running and, up towards the front, even though inside, outside, there's a bit more conversation now and debate as Pinto might get passed by Zach Campbell, who forces his way forward to 2nd potentially. Oh, Sanchez isn't having any of that. Back up the inside through the final corner.
Zach Campbell can be aggressive when he wants to be, and he's not liking what he's seeing in front of him, and he wants to be the disruptor here in this lead for the race. And look at that, Biko to the inside just as we go on board with Pinto. It was a late move from Biko in towards turn number 1. Pinto we're on board with, though. He's got a car to the inside of him because here comes Matthias Stuckbeck. And he's got to be careful of both of these drivers that do allow each other space. But Pinto, I mean, he's just nice and relaxed behind the wheel of his car. But look at this swarm of cars behind him.
At least he's in his car this time around. He's not jumping out of it, trying to run away from us on the broadcast. Ooh, that's a little bit nervy if you're Luca Keita. Remember, we talked to Moreno Soriga. He got ran out into those tire barriers in his heat race. It's something you're not really ever hoping to deal with, but something the drivers are very aware can happen with the natural racing line that they're running. Keita, though, got past Stuckbeck, challenges Pinto, and it's so fascinating to know all of that as Sebastian Job a little bit further back now, down to 13.
Yeah, he keeps on falling backwards here in this race. I don't know what is happening here, but certainly he is definitely losing out here. Now, don't forget, Sebastian Job came into this round of the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Supercup before qualifying. He was 50, get that, 50 points clear going into this round. As things stand right now, Diogo Pinto, who's in 4th place, is now just going to be 26 points back here in this one. That is a big change in the championship.
I get the sense that maybe it was related to some of this fighting that we're seeing behind. That was very close between Biko and Kita as they ran down that straightaway. And Sebastian Job, not the kind of driver to make self-inflicted mistakes, and so down to 13th. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Maybe can work with Cooper Webster and try and make some lines and force your way forward. Only driver not really in this leading pack is Oscar Pai. Sam Koiter in danger of being dropped though as we ride towards 9 to go.
Yeah, so the drivers come out of the final corner once again. Across the line, it is still Luke McEwen and Sanchez at the front of the field. Zach Campbell, 3rd place still, and very defensive from Jordan Caruso in towards turn number 1. He did not want Cooper Webster past him in all of that. So Caruso, your defending champion, 9th place right now. It's not been the best start to his season. But as we go up through the S's once again, with 9 to go here, Arjuna, let's have a look at what happened to Joe.
And this is what we were saying with race control. I've got to say, Sebastian Job, I mean, how do you avoid running into the back of Alessandro Pico like that? As close as you could get. And Sebastian Job minimized the impact of that. Back up towards the front, the long way around. Can Georgia's own Zach Campbell fight his way to the front? It's been a while since he was on top in the Super Cup. He's forcing his way to the inside of Luke McEwen.
Oh, the shoulders are out now. It's getting a little bit more rowdy, but he has split Sanchez and McEwen. I think that was important for Zach Campbell here to split those two as we go across the line again. So halfway through this race, then McEwen has now got Zach Campbell behind, Sanchez in 3rd, and look at this, just swarm of cars then. It's just for 5th place. You've got Stuckback, Bika, Kita, you've also got Johan Half there, Jordan Caruso, Cooper Webster, all together here on this field. As we're looking back now from Zach Campbell's car, he's going to be feeling the pressure from Sanchez because Sanchez will want to move forward here.
Who was the main race winner though last time we came here? Certain Zach Campbell, 3 wide towards the outer loop, and look at Alejandro Sanchez take a bow. Not only stopped it in time around the outside and to the race lead, what that's going to do is frustrate Zach Campbell to no end because he had been knocking at the door pole, and now all that hard work, well, he's trying to hold on to 3rd spot now.
And of course, he will have been working his tyres a bit as well, making those moves, so he's got to be careful here. Track temperature has kept on going down, so it's cooler out there. They can maybe push on that little bit harder here. Here is Matthias Stuckbeck right behind Diogo Pinto. Pinto now trying to make some moves on Zach Campbell. That's not happening here. It's difficult to know where to look in all of this, Arjuna, because there's action everywhere.
Oh, and Job at the back, I think, still trying to work his way forward, but not really working out for him. I would be very, this is one of those cases, right, where it's great that we've got multiple camera angles because we could legitimately have cameras basically everywhere. But I think for the time being, you look up front because if there's going to be chaos, it's probably up there, and then through the smoke, it's what happens through all of that that becomes important. Remember back to the All-Stars and the Pulpo Lopez being able to navigate through all of that safely. Paul, I mean, if we see something like that with 15 cars on track once again, you're going to have your wits about you.
You certainly are, and with basically 14 cars all in a line here, only Oscar Pai, as you mentioned earlier, dropped off the back after his issues earlier on in this race. 6 laps to go here. Biko's going defensive on Luca Kita. The tyre Stuckback's looking, showing his nose at Pinto, but no moves being made into turn number 1. But this is where now, if you're further down in the order, say a Sebastian Job who's moved up to 10th now in this race, you need to be making some moves.
can't get too aggressive if you are Sebastian, though, because you have to recognize this was the mid-season tournament, right? This is where we expected it to be a little bit more wild. It's not to say the rest of the Porsche eSports Super Cup isn't without its thrills and spills, but when you go to the Red Bull Ring, Seb will maybe expect to be back on top in qualifying and be able to control the tempo of the field just a little bit more. You do not win. I just want to reiterate, you do not win 4 races on the trot in this series without being one of the best drivers and being able to deliver under pressure. One slip up here isn't going to make too much of an impact long term in the championship if Joe Paul doesn't let it get in his head.
Well, let's give you a little bit of the sights and sounds. Going full throttle with Buzz. As the sparks fly off of the wall through the final turn, just 4 laps remain for these drivers to get themselves a main race win here and get themselves, if they win this race, $4,000, quadrupling the amount that we normally pay the race winner of the main race here in the Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. And it's Sanchez who's holding on ahead of Luke McEwen, but Zach Campbell is getting a little bit of a shove from Diogo Pinto as they go into the carousel. Sanchez going defensive here, Campbell deciding he needs to go the long way around here.
And what we're seeing increasingly is the leader jinking left on the entry into the long right-hander, just trying to cover off moves from behind. Watch the Oracle Red Bull sim racing pair of Cooper Webster and Sebastian Job trying to make some moves forward. Job's been able to get up now into the top 10. He leads the train that now runs behind, so he'll look to bridge the margin and close on those at the front. If you're Zach Campbell and Diogo Pinto, though, Paul, going to the thing on Sanchez, I'm trying to figure out where you try and make your way forward as Johan Haas down to the pit lane. What's that about?
His black flag. He's got a black flag, so he must have hit the incident point limit here in this one. That gets you a drive-through penalty, and that almost guarantees him last place here in this main race. So the drivers, we've been seeing a lot of bumping and barging between the drivers. That's going to come into effect here at Arjuna into the final 3 laps.
You hope that drivers have given themselves some leeway. We often talk about how drivers ration and use those incident points as weapons in the closing stages of races. Find out if anyone else is flying a little bit too close to the sun. No moves into the long right-hander from Zach Campbell this time by. 2 laps to go. You're wondering about track conditions, Paul. Well, it's continued to drop. It's down to 26 degrees Celsius. Just a reminder, that is more than 10 degrees Celsius than amongst the warmest conditions we've seen in this session. The tires will have plenty of grip with which to give. How can the drivers take advantage?
Johan Haas has parked the car, he's out of the race. So, across the line, 2 to go here. It's starting to ramp up at the front of the field. Some moves need to be made now at this stage of the race to be able to position yourself for a race win. We've seen in the heat races how difficult it is to make moves on that last lap. And Zach Campbell's under some serious pressure from Diogo Pinto here. He's got to be careful to not allow the front 2 to get away here, but Pinto, well, he wants to move forward. He wants 3rd place. He's just not getting it, and here comes Stuckbeck as well.
I think Pinto has to be careful not to play into the games that Sanchez and McEwen are running up front, because it could be a fight for third on the final lap rather than a fight for the lead if Pinto continues to cost these two potentially some time. Campbell's trying to cut back into line. He wants no part of this. Getting ready to see the white flag. Stuckbeck's there. Paul, what a great tournament this has been. $4,000 on the line though to the winner.
Oh, Stuckbeck is wide through the final turn. He just grazes the wall, and that's going to allow the rest of them to work their way through. Last lap of the race. The white flag is in the air. Alejandro Sanchez from Luke McEwen, from Diogo Pinto. That is your top three right now. Zach Campbell, I don't think, is close enough to make any moves. So it's all on this top three as they go through the S's here on this last lap. McEwen rocketing up and bump drafting. He is bump drafting Sanchez. He's going for it. There's been a major incident towards the rear, but we look to the front. There you see them in the background. Major incident to the front though. McEwen to the outside, not making the move. Sanchez, all he's got to do is try and hold his line, hold his position, and he can take victory here as we're going through towards the final two corners of this main race. Sanchez has got McEwen to the outside. Can McEwen do this one? It's going to be neck and neck. There's almost a rub between the two of them. McEwen to the inside of the last corner, but Sanchez is going to get the run. Alejandro Sanchez wins the mid-season tournament in a Porsche Tag Heuer eSports Super Cup. Wow, sensational stuff. I tell you what, I loved this event. This was brilliant stuff. Sanchez, a race winner. Luke McEwen gets second ahead of Diogo Pinto, but as we're going ahead into the Bose post-race show here, Arjuna, that was brilliant stuff.
Looking forward to chatting to the drivers, and valuable championship points for some. For Sanchez, those points and $4,000 to his name.
So there you go, provisional race results. Alejandro Sanchez winner by 0.145 of a second over Luke McEwen. Diogo Pinto finishes third ahead of Zach Campbell, who dropped down to fourth in the end. Big cut ahead of Keita, with Jordan Caruso ahead of championship leader Sebastian Job in eighth. Gustavo Ariel and Cooper Webster round out your top 10. Sam Keita then in 11th in the end ahead of Oscar Pai. Matti Sipola, who had an incident on the last lap with Matthias Stuckbeck, they are 13th and 14th, and Johan Haaf does not finish the race. Well, I don't know about you, Arjuna, but my voice is going here, but that was exciting stuff. I don't know if we could last any more tournaments like this, but you've got our race winner, Alex Sanchez.
Alejandro Sanchez join us. Alejandro, we saw the emotion at the line, could tell that this win meant a lot to you. I mean, talk to us about this.
It was nice. What can I say? Like, finally being able to grab a win. Team effort made it possible. Of course, I couldn't have done it without Luke. We sort of got checked up when I took over the lead. I had to go 3 wide on the outside. I wasn't very nice. I was a bit scared, but then yeah, we just played it perfect. I think Zach was a bit tight on incidents, and we could just extend a bit more T1 and take a bigger advantage of that, and we were pushing each other, so it was clear that we managed to stay up front because of that. Nothing much else to say, just thanks to the team and thanks to everyone to make it possible. I think in Q today we were quite strong. I just messed up my lap, but the boys did an amazing job. And yeah, what can I say? Just thanks to the team.
A rough start to the season. Seems as though things are starting to fall into place just a little bit more. How are you feeling now, halfway through the 2024 campaign?
I'm feeling good. This year I'm feeling good. It's just that sometimes things don't go my way, and that's the way racing is. Nothing more you can do about it. I'm more or less here to have fun, of course, to win as well. But if things don't go my way, I'm used to it after 6 years, you know. What can I say? I've been here long enough to know bad days from good days, and good days aren't that often.
Hey, don't forget, there's 30 drivers in the series. On any given day, there's only one winner at the end of the day. Just keep that in mind. Congratulations, Alejandro. We'll see you in a few weeks' time. We'll head on over to Zach Campbell, though, get a couple of thoughts from him. I mean, Zach, at the end of the day, unable to get the move done on Sanchez and McEwen working together. You tried, though. What more did he need to do to try and make it happen?
There's really nothing you can do when guys are working together like that. With the contact model here, like if you just slam on the brakes like in the middle of a corner, you can just hold people up. So like it's not a comment about them before anyone says that. Like they played that absolutely perfectly, and I am very jealous of how they were able to kind of control that race. But that's just what you can do when you kind of have the power of teammates. So no, they did really, really nice work, and congrats to them.
Solid points on the board for Zach Campbell in 4th. We'll step down to 5th, though, and potentially have a chat with Alessandro Bico as well in that Williams eSports machine. Gives us a quick wave. Alessandro, that looks like quite entertaining from our perspective. What was it like for you? You look a little bit tired and drained right now, emotionally.
Yeah, I am, honestly. It was a long night. Well, I'm very happy about the quali because finally I could put a decent lap. I missed a bit the last sector, but anyway, it is what it is. Each session, let's say I managed to get in, and in the future I was like, starting P10, so basically with all the people around was crazy. I managed to not crash. That wasn't easy. And then at the end I was like a bit too tight with the rear temperature, tires, and the off track, so I couldn't really push, for getting the P4 or the podium. But I'm happy. Good points for the championships. So yeah.
Congratulations, Alessandro, on a decent day. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. One more chat for us before we wrap things up here. Sebastian Joe standing by. Sebi, it wasn't an ideal day by any means. The 50-point advantage that you had is now down to 33. How are you feeling heading out of this mid-season tournament?
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed off, to be honest. Qualifying, we as a team, we missed something. That's there's nothing we can do about that. That's how it is sometimes. We've dropped the ball a bit, but in the races, this is just unbelievable. The driving standards felt to me pretty clear that a certain bunch of drivers were trying to crash me out. They attempted it 3 times and hit me off every single time. So I'm pretty fed up, but I'm also glad that I actually finished a race because that was clearly the intention, was to make sure I didn't. So yeah, could have been worse.
We did see a close call in the main event. Glad that you were able to lock it down in time and avoid running into anyone else. Seb, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time to continue this championship hunt.
Yep, cheers.
Well, Paul, that was an interesting set of post-race interviews. It's always nice to hear some emotion from the drivers as we check out the points.
Yeah, well, it's raw. It's as the drivers have finished the race, so they've not had chance to gather their thoughts there. But 33 points now is the lead that Sebastian Job has. That's dropped down from 50, as we said there. So Pinto has caught up. Luke McEwen as well has caught up in this championship fight. And look at Sanchez now into 4th place here at jumping ahead of Johan Haaf. Last year's champion Caruso now 116 points back from the championship lead. I think it's going to be a pretty difficult job for Jordan to try and defend this championship.
I mean, mathematically, he's still in with contention, but let's be realistic. 3 rounds left to go, 85 points up for grabs in each of the events. And when we go to the Red Bull Ring, up at altitude, is there going to be even more tension in the air? I think after this one, Paul, we talked about drivers not forgetting contact, having long memories. Those memories going to carry on over to the Styrian Mountains.
Yeah, 2 weeks' time, we are going to be racing from the Red Bull Ring. Back to our usual format for that one, so make sure you join us for all the action there. From ourselves here, Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankipati and everyone behind the scenes here at iRacing, we'll see you next time at the Red Bull Ring.